Chapter 655. After Mystic Moon became Wenyu's path protector, she retracted her aura. She returned to her original appearance. Mystic Moon said to Wenyu, "I'm leaving for the outer realm in 5 days. I'll be leaving for the outer realms in 5 days. Stay here with me for the next few days. I'll help you increase your strength too." Wenyu was about to respond when she remembered that Sky City's Star Web private faction territory would be announced the next morning. She was going to the private faction territory with Lin Yuan, so she said to Mystic Moon, "Master, I'm going to Star Web with Lin Yuan tomorrow. I'm going to Star Web with Lin Yuan tomorrow to deal with some matters. That's why I want to tell Lin Yuan first before coming to the Radiant Moon Palace to look for you." Mystic Moon looked at Wenyu with amusement and thought to herself. She only said that she and Lin Yuan were going to Star Web, but she did not say what they were going to do. "Do you think I don't know what's going on? 1/3 of Star Web is made up of my sacred source lifeform, the brain of domination." Mystic Moon thought of Lin Yuan's arrangement of his private faction territory and the people who went to watch the show every day. Mystic Moon found it very interesting. Mystic Moon could not help but wonder how Lin Yuan's brain worked. He actually relied on this method to keep the private faction territory on the visit list before it was announced. It had even been on the private faction territory's hot topic list yesterday. For any private faction territory to be famous, it needed to constantly accumulate popularity and word of mouth. However, Lin Yuan's simple operation had reached a level of popularity that other rising factions could not match even if they worked hard for a decade. If Lin Yuan, who was sleeping, knew what Mystic Moon was thinking, he would be amazed at her imagination. Compared to the idlers who came to watch the show in his private faction territory, Lin Yuan could not understand why there were people in this world who were so bored. Why did his private faction territory have to be laughed at every day without any arrangements? Was it really fun to laugh at others? How could they laugh at his private faction territory that did not have an announcement function? Xianyu raised her hand and a 7-colored ball of light appeared in her hand. "Go and ask Lin Yuan for leave. I will help you form a marrow contract with this sacred source lifeform now. Only when your strength increases will you be able to help Lin Yuan more." When you heard Mystic Moon's words, she felt that Mystic Moon's words were very reasonable. She picked up her cell phone and prepared to call Lin Yuan. However, when she thought that Lin Yuan might already be asleep at this time, she suddenly had an idea. With a raise of her hand, a piece of paper appeared out of thin air in her hand. Immediately after, the paper condensed into the shape of a paper crane. The paper crane flew with the wind and disappeared in a flash. Wenyu used the paper crane agreement to inform Lin Yuan that she would stay in the Radiant Moon Palace during this period and told him not to worry. Just as the night was about to end, Wenyu, who had been closing her eyes to form a marrow contract with the sacred source lifeform, suddenly opened them. In an instant, a rhombus-shaped crystal suddenly appeared in the center of her forehead. The inside of the crystal seemed to have a cat's eye pattern. The moment the rhombus-shaped crystal on Wenyu's forehead opened, the veins of the cat's eye seemed to weave a world of dreams. In this world of dreams, there were people sitting in a dream, holding a grand meeting. When Lin Yuan got up, he saw Genius lying on his pillow and looking at him with its round blue eyes. Chimey was still sleeping soundly on Genius's head. From time to time, it would use its feathers to rub against Genius's soft hair. It was very comfortable. Genius was holding a paper crane in its mouth. When it saw that Lin Yuan had woken up, it handed the paper crane to him. Since he had used true data to check Wenyu's contract with the source paper, Lin Yuan knew that this was the source paper's ability, paper crane agreement. When he saw the content of the paper crane, Lin Yuan could not help but feel happy for Wenyu. With Mystic Moon as her master, Wenyu would undoubtedly learn many things. As Lin Yuan had woken up early, it was only 6 o'clock now. Logically speaking, Liu Jie should have just woken up and had not made breakfast. When Lin Yuan went downstairs, he found Liu Jie and Duan He, who had gone to the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce last night, sitting on the sofa with grave expressions. In front of Duan He was a man who had fainted and was covered in blood. Lin Yuan's brows furrowed. When Duan He and Liu Jie saw Lin Yuan, they did not speak. "What's going on?" Duan He hastily replied. Last night, you asked me to go to the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce to protect Listen and Ju Luo. In the end, someone was secretly eavesdropping on their conversation late at night. Although this person's strength hasn't reached the king tier, he's contracted with a diamond tier storm dire wolf. His speed is simply too fast. Neither Ju Luo nor Fei Qianqiong are fast spirit qi professionals. Furthermore, when this person escaped, he also killed 7 or 8 listening Heron Chamber of Commerce's staff. I told Zi Yarrow to attack, but in the end, Zi Yarrow was a little too heavy-handed. Listen asked Fei Qianqiong last night, and he said that this person isn't a member of the Iron Wall Chamber of Commerce, so I brought him here. Hearing Du and his words, Liu Jie frowned. Liu Jie had just gone downstairs to prepare breakfast. When he encountered this matter, he thought that Duan he wanted Lin Yuan to save them. He didn't expect the unconscious man covered in blood to be an enemy spy. Just as Liu Jie was about to speak, Lin Yuan spoke to Duan He. Senior Duan He, if something like this happens again, don't bring it into the mansion. Lin Yuan's words puzzled Duan He. Then, Duan He heard Lin Yuan speak again. Chu Si is still young. Senior Duan He saw her last night. Upon hearing that, Duan He immediately scratched his head in embarrassment. Duan He thought to himself that he had been too careless. At this time, Liu Jie had already pulled the person on the ground up and directly carried him to the open space under the cinnabar suite Osman thus. Lin Yuan looked at the unconscious man covered in blood and waved his hand. A green ray of light landed on the man covered in blood. When Duan He saw that Lin Yuan was treating the man, he said, "Don't worry. This person probably can't be saved." Both of his spirit items were eaten by the purple demon. It's a small matter for the Fei's spirit to be injured after its death, but after being struck by the purple demon's tail whip, apart from the skull, all the other bones should have been broken. With this kind of injury, it would be hard for him not to die. The third one. End of chapter. Chapter 656. Not long after Duan He finished speaking, his eyes widened abruptly. This was because Duan He had discovered that the vitality in the body of the person who was originally only left with a weak aura was slowly becoming richer. Duan He looked at Lin Yuan and felt his face hurting. Duan He went forward to check. When his hand touched the man's body, he discovered that many of the man's broken bones had already grown back together. Duan He looked at Lin Yuan with an increasingly shocked gaze. Previously, Duan He didn't know that Lin Yuan was a healing-type spirit qi professional. Now that he knew, he didn't expect Lin Yuan's healing-type Fei to be so domineering. Even such a serious injury could be healed. Most importantly, he did not summon his Fei, yet it already had such a powerful healing effect. By then, the man on the ground had already woken up. When he saw Duan He instinctively shrunk back. But as he retreated, he slammed into the trunk of the cinnabar suite Osman thus. This caused the cinnabar suite Osman thus to scatter a tree of red flowers. The falling petals of the cinnabar suite Osman thus carried the unique fragrance of the cinnabar suite Osman thus, and it invigorated the injured man's 2 Feis. Lin Yuan took advantage of the fact that the man had just woken up and was still in a daze, and he was infected by the cinnabar suite Osmanthus's fragrance. Guanji, who was both clear-headed and confused, asked, "Did the Zheng family's 3rd lineage ask you to investigate the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce?" The middle-aged man said subconsciously. "No, its 2nd young master." Upon hearing the middle-aged man's words, Lin Yuan raised his brows as expected. At this time, the middle-aged man who had just crawled up from the ground realized that he had said the wrong thing and hurriedly knelt down. "I'll tell you everything you want to know. I can use all the secrets I know to exchange for my life." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan looked at the middle-aged man on the ground and said coldly, "Logically speaking, the person sent by the main bloodline of the Zheng family to gather information shouldn't be someone who would casually leak the information he knows. It seems that people who have died once and come back to life understand the value of life better than ordinary people. Since you understand the value of life, you should know that you have to pay the price for killing many ordinary employees of the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce last night." Lin Yuan ignored the middle-aged man kneeling on him and turned to speak to Duan He. "Senior Duan He, since you brought this person here, I'll leave him to you." After saying that, Lin Yuan turned around and walked into the mansion. Genius used its little head to nudge Lin Yuan's palm and wagged its little tail. In its smart world, it felt that Lin Yuan was extremely handsome. However, Lin Yuan's heart was going through another metamorphosis. When Lin Yuan had been training in the controlled Class 3 Abyss Dimensional Rift, he hadn't shown any mercy to those who wanted to kill him. Those who wanted to kill Lin Yuan were all buried under the rolling yellow sand. Now that Lin Yuan had established a faction, he was no longer one or two people. He could no longer think about problems from a personal point of view. As a force supported by Sky City, it could be said that everyone in the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce, even an ordinary employee, was inextricably linked to Sky City. The Zheng family's spies had casually killed nearly 10 employees in the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce, which had hardened Lin Yuan's heart. Lin Yuan understood that no snowflake was innocent in an avalanche. The fixed scale in Lin Yuan's heart suddenly had 2 more chips added to it. These 2 chips were the enemy and himself. After thinking it through, Lin Yuan felt that he had been too passive and soft-hearted in dealing with the Zheng family's matter. Lin Yuan turned his head and said to Duan He, who was outside the door. Senior Duan He, the Zheng family's territory is in Indigo Azure City. The royal capital is not a place for the Zheng family to behave atrociously. Upon hearing that, Duan He immediately understood what Lin Yuan meant and immediately promised. Young master, leave this matter to me. Don't worry. After tonight, not a single living member of the Zheng family will exist in the royal capital. At that moment, Liu Jie walked to Lin Yuan's side and said, "That's right. Lin Yuan, we have already formed a grudge with the Zheng family. During the active phase of the dimensional rift, it is impossible for the Zheng family to have any large-scale operations. But there will always be some tricks played behind the scenes. Since Listen wants to develop the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce by taking the route of luxury resources and conducting large transactions of all kinds of luxury resources, we can take the initiative to let the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce declare war on the Zheng family in business." As a Radiance 100 sequence member, Liu Jie might not have joined any faction before, but he understood the cruelty of the struggles between the various factions. In Liu Jie's opinion, since they were going to fight, whoever attacked first would have the upper hand. Lin Yuan had plenty of materials for luxury resources. In terms of production, he also had the support of the Heavenly Craft Pavilion established by the Class 5 Spirit Craftsman, Hu Quan. In the Radiance Federation's huge market, there would never be a shortage of good luxury resources. Even if the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce was only a drop in the bucket compared to the Zheng family, it controlled the 3 aspects of raw materials, processing, and market. There was no possibility of the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce losing. Liu Jie recalled that when he had been tidying up the manor, he had seen 5 to 6 boxes of completely jade-textured wood debris in the storage room. If the Zheng family wanted to rely on the foundation of a veteran faction to fight a price war with the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce, they would have to pay a painful price for their decision. Even if the Zheng family had a strong financial chain, they would still have to pay a painful price for their decision. Those boxes of completely jade-textured wood debris were still being stored in the storage room like garbage. Furthermore, as Hu Quan used the entire piece of completely jade-textured wood, they were still increasing. Upon hearing Liu Jie's words, Lin Yuan nodded and replied, "Let Listen declare war on the Zheng family. It's possible to let Listen declare war on the Zheng family. However, Uncle Hu's Heavenly Craft Pavilion only has over 33-star spirit craftsmen, which is far from enough." Lin Yuan began to calculate in his heart. According to the current development, there would be more and more places where he would need to use Class 3 spirit craftsmen in the future. Just the construction of the underground space in his return from Faraway Manor and Master Hong Shen's residence. There was also the expansion of the guild base and the artificial lake inside the return from Faraway Manor. Even after the spatial tunnel connected to the Divine Wood Federation, Lin Yuan would have to build a base there. The most important thing was the construction of Sky City's main city after the June floating island whale hatched. Each of these required a large number of spirit craftsman resources as support. Moreover, if the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce wanted to rely on luxury resources to become bigger and stronger, it would always need a large number of spirit craftsmen behind it to create for it day and night. It seemed that he should tell Hu Quan. He should let Hu Quan visit the spirit craftsman guilds in the Radiance Federation's 32 major cities as a Class 5 spirit craftsman to attract more Class 3 spirit craftsmen. First, more. Seeking recommendation votes. Seeking monthly votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 657. After breakfast, Lin Yuan told Hu Quan his thoughts. After hearing Lin Yuan's thoughts, Hu Quan's eyes lit up like light bulbs. When Hu Quan had established the Heavenly Craft Pavilion, he had wanted to make a name for himself. After all, spirit craftsmen needed to devote their entire lives to pursue an art profession. If they could not be recognized, no matter how much value they created, it would still not be considered a success. With Lin Yuan's support, Hu Quan felt that the Heavenly Craft Pavilion he had established might be stronger than the Spirit Craftsman Guild in the future. After returning to his room, Lin Yuan logged on to Star Web as Black. After logging into the Star Web, Lin Yuan first informed Tian Ningning about his recent situation. Recently, Lin Yuan's black identity seemed to have disappeared without a trace. However, Tian Ningning did not become idle because of this. There were simply too many female fans of black, especially male mothers. These male mothers had green eyes and forcibly made Black's few battle videos remain in the top 100 of the Celestial Stairway video library after so long. Poison Beauty was the one who benefited the most from this. It was just that Poison Beauty, who had benefited so much, was very distressed recently. She did not expect that someone would poach her to conduct luxury goods auctions on Star Web to be a livestreamer selling goods. The other party did not prohibit her from engaging in other live-streaming activities. However, if she went to sell goods, her live-streaming time on the Celestial Stairway would undoubtedly be much less. This was likely to cause Poison Beauty's rising popularity to decrease. Logically speaking, Poison Beauty would refuse such a poaching offer without a second thought. However, the other party's conditions were so generous that she could not refuse at all. During this time, Tian Ningning published a few reports about Black's identity based on the facts. Even though the content of the reports was too plain, it still made Black's fans celebrate the new year. Black's fans were surprisingly satisfied, compared to Black's mysterious and low-key past. It was good to see Tian Ningning, a Star Web exclusive reporter who did not release any hard news, occasionally publish one or two insignificant reports. All of a sudden, the Star Web, which had been tranquil yesterday, experienced a huge tremor in just one night. On Star Web, everyone's popularity, including Black's, was suppressed by two young men. One of them was called Lin Yuan, while the other was called Chu Ci. Chu Ci's performance as a lucky spectator in the All-Star competition was like a powerful slap to the faces of many people who doubted Chu Ci's strength. This allowed Chu Ci to sit on the throne of the Radiance Federation's #1 genius. He had comprehended 2 willpower runes at a young age and possessed 2 fantasy breed phase. In addition to these hardware conditions, he was also very skilled in combat techniques. When Chu Ci fought Dragon Gate's guild leaders Chen Hongfeng, she had been exceptionally calm and composed. She had not panicked in the slightest. It was clear that her fundamentals were very solid. Coupled with her outstanding looks, Chu Ci's fame skyrocketed. It even gave Chu Ci the vague title of Quasi-Sequence. Of course, as her reputation soared, her titles of Iron Ox Princess and Iron Ox Valkyrie became more and more resounding. As for Lin Yuan, from his appearance to his contracted phase, everything was a mystery. It could be said that Lin Yuan was a powerful mystery. Mysteries always piqued people's interest. Lin Yuan's mysteriousness aroused the Star Web netizens' desire to explore. Now, many people started to compare Lin Yuan and Black. As they were comparing, they casually pulled over the purchase with no loss store owner, who had previously competed with Black, over as well. Such a comparison caused the fans of the 3 factions to engage in a chaotic battle. After Lin Yuan finished the 2 Celestial Stairway duels, he felt a little awkward when he saw Tian Ningning's post about the dispute between the 3 factions' fans. Lin Yuan could not tell Tian Ningning that all 3 of them were him. What was there to compare? Lin Yuan's 2 Celestial Stairway duels gave Tian Ningning work again. After the 2 Celestial Stairway duels, Lin Yuan did not intend to log into Black's Star Web account in a short time. After dealing with the recent matters, Lin Yuan planned to enter seclusion and strive to become a B-rank spirit qi professional. During this period, Lin Yuan had been busy with all sorts of things and did not have much time to continuously enhance phase. He would use this to increase his strength. Lin Yuan was determined to increase his spirit qi professional rank to B rank before the Radiance 100 sequence. This way, the speed at which he enhanced phase could greatly increase. It allowed him to have more capital to rapidly increase the phase grade and quality. By then, he would be able to go to the Creation Master Association to take the Class 3 Creation Master exam and see if he could become a Class 3 Creation Master. During this period of time, Genius had been learning about Class 3 Fey Observer, Class 3 Spiritual Ingredient Analyst, and Class 3 Scholar on the Star Web. When it was time to take the Class 3 Creation Master exam, Lin Fan would have to be prepared. He still planned to choose the Class 3 Spiritual Ingredient Observer, Class 3 Spiritual Ingredient Analyst, and Class 3 Scholar Lifestyle Class Spirit Qi Professional exams as his prerequisites. After logging into Star Web as a Creation Master, he put on the strange mask with the majestic Sky City pattern. He then entered his purchase with No Loss Star Web Store to check the amount of Aurora pollen he had exchanged for with the flower brocade pearls. News of the Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls had spread. As a result, the harvest of Aurora pollen this time was 5 times higher than he expected. Of course, this was mainly because spiritual ingredients like Aurora pollen had a certain circulation in the market and weren't very rare. When Lin Yuan saw the large amount of Aurora pollen, he felt that this transaction alone would be enough for the 30 angelfish of bliss to eat for 3 years. However, after the female angelfish of bliss gave birth, there would be many mouths crying piteously for food. The female angelfish of bliss gave birth to a lot of children, but the low survival rate caused them to be so rare. Lin Yuan had the Mountain River Eternal Life Carp's exclusive skill and didn't have such concerns. Therefore, Lin Yuan once again chose to use the flower brocade pearls to exchange for the Aurora pollen. In fact, Lin Yuan's goal of hoarding a large amount of Aurora pollen within a short period wasn't simple. The Aurora pollen's function was a kind of food, and very few creation masters would use it to concoct spirit fluids. If Lin Yuan hoarded a large amount of Aurora pollen, it would definitely cause its price to increase. If the Aurora pollen's value increased, it would increase the price of nurturing the angelfish of bliss. This would have a direct impact on the Sea of Bliss, which was a veteran faction that nurtured the angelfish of bliss. The second was even worse. End of this chapter. Chapter 658. When Lin Yuan had been kicked out by the Blissful Sea Tribe's attendant, he had not intended to deal with them. However, as his friend and partner, Gao Feng, had intended to deal with the Blissful Sea Tribe, so Lin Yuan did not mind helping him. Lin Yuan's previous collection of Aurora pollen would not have much impact on the market given his current volume. However, Lin Yuan had increased the frequency of blind bartering with the flower brocade pearls and the number of flower brocade pearls each time. In the beginning, Lin Yuan had used flower brocade pearls as a unit for blind bartering, but it had slowly risen to 10. This time, Lin Yuan used 30 pearls as a group and divided them into 10 groups. This way, Lin Yuan could also clear out the large number of flower brocade pearls he had hoarded. Previously, Lin Yuan had not traded a large number of flower brocade pearls because he was afraid that it would destroy the market. However, Lin Yuan had stopped nurturing the flower brocade pearls and started to nurture a large number of golden lotus brocades. After seeing the golden lotus brocades increase in Creation Master's abilities, Lin Yuan believed that no matter how many flower brocade pearls a Creation Master had hoarded, they would not be able to resist the temptation of the golden lotus brocades. Lin Yuan's operation of collecting a large number of Aurora pollen was an attempt to use the resources in his hands to control the market. Lin Yuan wanted to see if the resources in his hands could monopolize the Aurora pollen in the market. If he really succeeded, the Blissful Sea Tribe, which nurtured Angelfish of Bliss, would probably beg him to buy Aurora pollen from him. Lin Yuan knew that it was not easy to monopolize the market with the power of capital. If Lin Yuan bought the Aurora pollen unilaterally from the market, the Blissful Sea Tribe would definitely notice. If the Blissful Sea Tribe bought a large number of Aurora pollen with him, then Lin Yuan's plan would fail. Now, Lin Yuan was using blind bartering to distract them. Every person or faction that participated in the blind bartering competition became a pair of hands in Lin Yuan's hands to manipulate the market and buy a large number of aurora pollen. His scattered purchases throughout the Radiance Federation made it difficult for the Blissful Sea tribe to notice. By the time they noticed, it would be too late even if they wanted to take action. After dealing with the purchase with no loss stores matters, Lin Yuan teleported to Sky City's private faction territory. After entering Sky City's private faction territory, Lin Yuan was immediately speechless. Don't these onlookers need to reunite with their families during the new year? And what's with all these old and young people? Did the whole family come to his empty private territory to watch the show? Lin Yuan really did not understand what was so interesting about this show. It seemed like these up-and-coming factions without any foundation had been bullied badly after setting up their private territories on Star Web. This made his private territory in Sky City a place where he could relieve his stress. The outside of Sky City's empty private territory was enough to make any rising force without a strong foundation feel a sense of superiority. Since he was the owner of Sky City's private territory, he was directly teleported to the entrance of the faction's private territory when he appeared. Originally, these people who came to watch the show were chatting enthusiastically, causing the outside of the private faction's territory, which did not have any decorations, to be as noisy as a temple fair. As Lin Yuan appeared in such a conspicuous position, everyone's eyes involuntarily focused on him. One of the middle-aged men with goat horns in the front row saw Lin Yuan, and his eyes lit up. He said to the burly man beside him, "The last time I came, I saw that kid open the door and go straight inside." As the middle-aged man with the goat horns spoke, he did not notice that the expression on the burly man's face suddenly became dull. As the uncle with the goat-horned beard spoke, he did not notice at all that the expression of the burly man beside him had abruptly become lifeless. Then, he looked at the middle-aged man with the goat horns as if he was looking at an idiot. Then, he looked at the middle-aged man with the goat horns as if he was looking at an idiot. "Old Feng, are you sure you're talking about that young man with the mask?" The middle-aged man with the goat horns rolled his eyes at the burly man upon hearing that. "Freezing cold, you don't even believe my words. I, Old Feng, have lived all my life. When have I ever lied?" Freezing Cold had done many mercenary missions for Old Feng, so he naturally understood Old Feng's temperament. Although Old Feng usually liked to gossip, his actions and words were absolutely accurate. But when Freezing Cold recalled that when he had gone to apply for the white-clothed follower position, the young man with the strange mask had casually taken out a bronze epic fae that had awakened the dragon species bloodline. Freezing Cold could not believe that this private faction territory that had nothing and had been mocked for so long belonged to this young man in front of him. Freezing Cold did not believe Old Feng's words, but his words were heard by many people. Everyone's eyes stared at Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan had been able to calmly endure the gazes of 200,000 spectators at the All-Star Arena, so he naturally did not have the slightest discomfort when facing these people's gazes. It was just that these gazes that were shooting at him had a hint of mockery and disdain, which made Lin Yuan feel that it was ridiculous. At that moment, Lin Yuan suddenly heard a mocking shout from behind. "Hey, kid on the steps. If your private faction territory is really lacking things, our Mountain Opening Trade Association can lend you a few mystical stones to build scenery." When Lin Yuan heard that, he looked at the person who spoke without batting an eyelid. He saw a middle-aged man with a goatee chuckling and stroking his beard while looking at him. Lin Yuan's brows behind the mask raised slightly. He did not expect to see an acquaintance here. Freezing Cold's gaze was also focused on Lin Yuan, and he subconsciously shrank his neck when he sensed Lin Yuan's gaze. Freezing Cold was about to pull Old Feng next to him and let him get into trouble because of his mouth. He heard the young man's clear and melodious voice. "It's been hard on everyone. You're still so hardworking during the new year, allowing Sky City to be on the private territory's visitor list. For this, I represent Sky City to thank everyone for their tireless efforts." Lin Yuan's words made everyone feel a little strange, except for Freezing Cold. They had originally come to see a joke, so why did they suddenly receive a thank you card? However, the more they thought about this sentence, the more they felt that the meaning was wrong. It was supposed to be good words, but why did it sound like they were too idle? When everyone came back to their senses, they felt a surge of anger in their hearts. They found that the young man with the strange mask had entered the private territory. However, the gate inside the private territory was not closed. It was obvious that the young man had opened the passage to enter the private territory. Third. End of this chapter. Chapter 659. Looking at the open door, the goateed old Feng let out a cold snort. Let's go, old Lung. The outside of the Sky City is empty. Let me see if it's also empty inside. Freezing Cold wanted to leave the moment he saw Lin Yuan. He already knew that he and the others who came to watch the joke were the real joke. However, Freezing Cold's eyes flickered as he recalled that he had not said anything overboard and was just here to watch the show. Now that Old Feng was standing out, he might as well follow Old Feng into the private faction territory to take a look. Thinking of this, Freezing Cold followed Old Feng, who had a goatee, to the door. As soon as he entered the territory, Freezing Cold felt as though the world had changed. The scene in front of him did not seem to belong to the mortal world. Layers of clouds covered the stars like a palace in the sky. The goateed Old Feng originally had a face of anger and ridicule. When he saw the layout inside, he could not react. He subconsciously thought, since when did the Star Web's private faction territory have the ability to change the environment? A few days ago, he had helped the president to decorate the territory. He had placed some statues made of metal spiritual materials inside and outside the territory and replaced those strange stone ornaments. Why did he not notice this function at that time? Looking at the environment that was like being in the sky, the goateed Old Feng felt that it was worth spending a little more money. This kind of environment was really too grand. Then, Old Feng looked inside and saw the youth wearing a strange mask sitting at a wooden table. With a glance, Old Feng could tell that it was a standard wooden table that Starweb had given him when he had established the private territory. However, Old Feng couldn't say anything to mock this standard wooden table. Old Feng saw a potted plant that was shaped like a pagoda. This potted plant was covered with white jade bell-like flowers, and the lustrous flowers were flowing with a layer of mysterious aura. Old Feng could not help but blurt out, "It's actually a bronze epic oath lily of the valley." Lin Yuan, who was sitting inside, was checking the private faction territory's visitor information for the past few days. Upon hearing Old Feng's words, Lin Yuan glanced at the oath lily of the valley on the table and looked at Old Feng in astonishment. "My oath lily of the valley is a true bronze legend existence. How did it drop in quality just because of a sentence from you?" Lin Yuan sighed. It was truly terrifying to be uneducated. With this realization, Lin Yuan suddenly entered a state of epiphany. This sudden epiphany made the corners of Lin Yuan's mouth immediately curl up. He had finally comprehended the knowledge willpower rune that was suitable for genius to fuse with. However, because he was comprehending it in the star web, he was unable to condense the willpower rune immediately. When he left the star web, this willpower rune would be formed. As soon as Old Feng finished speaking, he felt his sleeve was suddenly pulled. Old Feng turned his head and looked at Freezing Lung in confusion. Freezing Lung suppressed the shock in his heart and scolded Old Feng in a low voice. F***CK, Old Feng, you better take a good look at that oath lily of the valley. Even if you aren't a creation master and are only a B-rank spirit chi professional, you are still from the Chamber of Commerce. Don't you have this little bit of foresight? Also, look at the surroundings. Sky City is definitely a goddamn force. Freezing Lung regretted it to death in his heart. Why didn't he seize the opportunity at the beginning? Also, who can tell me what kind of faction this Sky City is? They can even take out a bronze legend oath lily of the valley. When Old Feng heard Freezing Lung's words, his brows twitched wildly. Then, Old Feng carefully sized up the oath lily of the valley on the table, and then carefully looked at the surroundings. With one look, Old Feng immediately felt dizzy, and his jaw nearly dropped to the ground. There were many people who followed behind Old Feng and Freezing Lung to watch the show. At that moment, their hearts were also trembling. How could a faction that could take out a bronze legend oath lily of the valley to place in the territory not make a good arrangement outside the territory? The fact that there was no arrangement before could only mean that they didn't have time to set it up. Otherwise, They didn't feel that setting up the outside of the private territory was something that could show off their foundation and reputation. After all, they didn't lack foundation and reputation. Due to this big discovery, many people had already left the Sky City's private territory. They continued to promote Lin Yuan's faction territory like before. Lin Yuan didn't stop them. After checking the visitor records, Lin Yuan opened the message interface. He looked at the official messages that the Star Web officials sent him one after another in surprise. Lin Yuan knew that his private faction, Sky City, had been recently. Perhaps it was because he had entered the private territory and was discovered by others. The visit list's ranking had once again risen. However, Lin Yuan didn't expect Sky City to be ranked 99th on the private territory's popularity list. The popularity list and the visit list were completely different. The visit list was a ranking based on the number of visitors and didn't have much value. After all, some top factions' private territories simply didn't allow others to enter casually. Even the veteran faction, the Aquarium of Bliss, would have attendants receive and manage every person who entered. If there was any dissatisfaction, the attendants would kick the person out of the Aquarium of Bliss private territory and blacklist them. Because of this, some of the truly large forces would not even appear on the Friends ranking list. Apart from a few veteran factions, the visit list was mostly a paradise for rising factions. However, the popularity list was different. All the private territories on Star Web would be ranked on the popularity list, which was a very authoritative list. Lin Yuan looked at the popularity list and found that among the top 100 factions on the popularity list, only his Sky City was a rising faction. The top 50 on the popularity list were firmly controlled by 50 top factions. It could be said that the rising Sky City's appearance on such an authoritative list was abnormally abrupt. The popularity list would also be updated every day. Lin Yuan thought to himself. Since Sky City is on the popularity list, it can't fall off the popularity list in the future. Lin Yuan used the rights given by Star Web when the private territory was established to announce the Sky City's functions to other private factions. Those who had just left the Sky City's private territory had not had time to spread the internal arrangements of Sky City. Lin Yuan's announcement of the Sky City's private territory's functions exploded among the major factions on Star Web. First, more. Seeking monthly votes for a new month. End of this chapter. Chapter 660. After announcing the Sky City's functions, he took out a stack of white letters. When Lin Yuan hung these letters on the 108 rotating star wheels on the wall, he found that the middle-aged man with a goatee had already walked in front of him with a trembling body. Lin Yuan saw the uncle with the goatee bow and say with trembling lips, "Yes, sir. Big, human. I've never been good at talking. I don't even like to hear what you say. I didn't mean to offend you." Old Feng, who was bowing down, really wanted to slap himself in the face. It was one thing for him to gossip behind someone's back. But now, he clearly saw the true dragon, but he didn't recognize the true dragon. Instead, he spoke rudely to the true dragon, and the true dragon heard him. This was simply terrible, not to mention that he had just introduced himself. After understanding the Grand Hall's layout, Old Feng couldn't guess how many Creation Master resources were needed to set up such a cloudy sky scene. To think that he had eyes but failed to see. At first, he had thought that this was a new function on Star Web. This was a grand scene created by over 100 bronze epic phase. If a faction could take out 100 bronze epic phase, Old Feng would not be so surprised. Any Apex faction could take out 100 bronze epic phase. Even some veteran forces that had developed for a period of time could have such a foundation. However, these bronze epic phase in front of him were all decorative phase and did not possess combat ability. Moreover, they were all repeated existences. This was the same as using the esteemed Creation Masters as spirit craftsmen. Aren't you afraid of shortening your lifespan by doing this? When Lin Yuan heard the middle-aged man's words, he raised his brows and asked, "If it's not on purpose, could it be on purpose?" When Old Feng heard Lin Yuan's clear voice, his back broke out in cold sweat. Old Feng was just about to raise his head and explain when he realized that the masked youth was pruning the newly grown oath lily of the valley. He had no intention of making things difficult for her. Old Feng might only be a B-rank spirit chi professional, and his contracted fae was a gold epic hand twister viper. However, Old Feng, who came from the Chamber of Commerce, had a keen eye for people. He knew that the masked youth in front of him had a good temper and would not make things difficult for him. Or perhaps, the young man in front of him didn't take him seriously at all. Old Feng rolled his eyes and cautiously stepped forward to talk to him. "My lord, this lowly one even said that if your faction needs it, I can lend you a few wondrous stones to build scenery. It seems that you don't need it anymore, my lord. However, out of consideration for our mountain-splitting merchant guild's friendship, can you rent a few things to our mountain-splitting merchant guild? Our Mountain Opener Merchant Association will rent it at market price, and we guarantee that the price will satisfy Lord." Freezing cold and the onlookers almost sprained their waists at Old Feng's antics. This was simply too shameless. What exactly did you mean by those words back then? Do you really think that this lord can't tell? When Lin Yuan heard Old Feng's words, he nearly choked on his saliva. It was one thing for this person to be old, but how did he become a spirit? At that moment, Lin Yuan finally understood why the Star Web's private faction territory had a function to kick people and add them to the blacklist. Suddenly, the onlookers outside moved to the sides, giving way to the middle of the door. By now, people from other rising forces and even veteran forces had arrived one after another. Outside Fragrant City, a green mountain was shrouded in fog, and the fog carried the fragrance of all sorts of flowers and plants. Fragrant City was located in the south of the Radiance Federation and was connected to Redbud City. However, it wasn't as hot and rainy as Redbud City. However, Fragrant City's year-round spring-like climate was the same as Redbud City's. In this simple and unadorned old wooden residence halfway up the fragrant green mountain, an old woman in a wheelchair with a face full of wrinkles was holding a basket of flower branches on the table. She was selecting fresh flowers to insert into the vase. Beside the old woman was a young woman with waist-length hair. The woman's brows were tightly furrowed, and it was obvious that she was distressed about something. However, the woman forced a smile in front of the old woman and used a knife to sharpen the ends of the flower branches in the basket. It was convenient for the old woman to insert the vase. The old woman glanced at the woman's tightly furrowed brows and spoke in a very gentle and amiable tone. "Ning Xiong, are you still worried about the cooperation with the Miao family's beast creation garden?" The woman called Ning Xiong shook her head gently and quickly changed the topic. "Grandma, your habit of inserting vases has changed recently. In the past, you liked to use the pearl snow from plum blossoms and the frost osmanthus from osmanthus flowers. But now, you like to insert peonies and peonies." When the old woman heard the woman change the topic, she knew that the woman's mind was on the cooperation with the Miao family's beast creation garden. However, since the woman wasn't willing to talk about it, the old woman didn't continue talking about it. Instead, she followed the woman's topic. "I'm getting old. Compared to those exquisite small flowers, I now like these big flowers that I thought were vulgar when I was young. I've been inserting flowers for my entire life, and I understand a principle. All flowers bloom and wither. It's just a matter of time. Our Sun family's Dew Immortal Garden is the same. It will wither if it blooms for too long. Ning Xiong, you don't have to take it to heart." Upon hearing the old woman's words, Sun Ning Xiong's eyes suddenly turned red. The Dew Immortal Garden's Sun family had too few people. Only her grandmother, herself, and her 5-year-old brother were left. When she was young, the Dew Immortal Garden had been extremely powerful and had been one of the top factions. However, after her grandfather had died 3 years ago, the Dew Immortal Garden's 3 Pinnacle Class 4 Creation Masters had led a large number of experts to seize power. Her grandmother had single-handedly stopped them, but her grandmother's soul spirit had been severely injured. However, Grandma's soul was severely damaged, and her entire body, except for her hands, was destroyed. Due to the departure of the 3 Pinnacle Class 4 Creation Masters, the Dew Immortal Garden no longer had any top-notch Creation Masters. Under such circumstances, if they couldn't cooperate with the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden, the Dew Immortal Garden would fall from being a top-notch faction in just a few years. However, The conditions given by the Miao family's beast creation garden were too harsh. If they cooperated with the beast creation garden according to the conditions given by the Miao family, the Dew Immortal Garden might be able to maintain its glory for a while. However, it wouldn't choose to die a quick death into a slow death. Sun Ningxiong didn't want to do such a business where she had to die just to survive. But where could she find a new way out? Second update, asking for monthly votes. More. End of this chapter. Chapter 661. Seeing the expression on the woman's face, the old woman sighed. Ningxiong, do you still not understand a principle? The true pillar of a top force is never the so-called resources, but the emperor-class powerhouses. My soul is injured, and my body is unable to move. Forcefully hanging on to life is like a candle that is about to go out. But as long as I don't die and my contracted Fae is still around, no one will be able to pull the Dew Immortal Garden down from its position as a peak faction. But with my condition, I can only hold on for another year at most. A year later, even if the Sun family's Dew Immortal Garden and the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden form a close partnership, the Dew Immortal Garden will not be able to escape its fate. Hearing this, Sun Ningxiang's tears rolled down her cheeks as she choked with sobs. Grandma, even if I have to sell the entire Dew Congealing Immortal Garden, I will find someone to cure your illness. The old woman stretched out her wrinkled hand to wipe Sun Ningxiang's tears and said kindly, since a girl has decided to stand up for herself, don't let your tears flow out easily. If you really want to cry, just keep it in your heart. Ningxiang, in the future, you will have to take care of your little brother, Xiao Liufu. As she spoke, the old woman sighed inwardly. If my illness was so easy to cure, why would there be so many pairs of eyes that would dare to covet the Dew Immortal Garden? At this moment, light footsteps and two excited exclamations came from outside the door. Old madam, young lady, a faction has suddenly appeared on Star Web. Excited shouts came from outside the door, and Sun Ningxiang couldn't help but facepalm. These two maidservants were used to being wild at her place, but now that they were at her grandmother's place, they couldn't stop. Sun Ningxiang shouted towards the door. Dao Yarrow, Xinghua, this is the old residence where grandma is recuperating, not the headquarters of the Dew Congealing Immortal Garden. It's not your place to disturb grandma's recuperation. The footsteps outside the door gradually increased, and at this time, the figures of two women appeared at the door. One of the two women was dressed in pink while the other was dressed in yellow. They looked quite similar. When the two of them heard Sun Ningxiang's words, they immediately realized that they had been too excited when they saw the news on Star Web. Dao Yarrow and Xinghua stuck out their tongues and hurriedly bowed to the old woman. Sun Ningxiang looked at the two and asked, "What's so surprising about a faction suddenly appearing on Star Web? The two of you have been managing the Star Web's Dew Immortal Garden's territory for quite some time. Is there not a day when two private forces are established?" Peach Demon and Xinghua hurriedly replied, "Young lady, this newly established faction's function is to create high-quality bronze phase according to the law rune. This faction must have plenty of creation master resources." Hearing this, Sun Ningxiang stood up and said to the old woman beside her, "Grandma, I'm going to take a look at the Star Web now. I'll arrange flowers with you when I come back." He watched as Sun Ningxiang quickly walked back to her room and entered the Star Web. The old woman silently lowered her head to look at her palm, softly muttering, "I have never believed in fate, but now, I can only pray for the blessing of fate. How great would it be if someone could cure this old body's illness?" More and more people came to Sky City's private territory. Slowly, the entrance of the hall became a little crowded. Lin Yuan looked at the crowd at the entrance of the hall. Suddenly, he saw a woman with waist-length hair and a plain white dress standing in the crowd. She was very eye-catching. This woman had a special aura. This aura was inexplicably familiar to Lin Yuan. It was very similar to Gao Feng's aura. It was a kind of noble aura that could only be born under the influence of a solid foundation. This woman with waist-length hair and a plain white dress should not have a simple identity. At that moment, Peach Yarrow, who was wearing a long pink dress, saw Lin Yuan's gaze land in Sun Ningxiang's direction. She tilted her head and whispered in Sun Ningxiang's ear, "Young lady, Look at the guy wearing a strange mask sitting at the table looking at you. Sun Ningxiang didn't respond to Peach Yarrow's words. Instead, she shifted her gaze away from the bronze legend Oath Lily of the Valley. In an instant, Sun Ningxiang's gaze met with Lin Yuan's. Then, Sun Ningxiang nodded gently at Lin Yuan and withdrew her gaze without leaving a trace. She asked Xingguo, who was wearing a yellow dress. Xingguo, what level do you think Sky City's newly established faction can reach? Xingguo, who was wearing a yellow dress, pushed up the glasses on the bridge of her nose and replied seriously. Young lady, just based on the layout, Sky City's lower limit is that of a top emerging faction. As for the upper limit, Xingguo is a little uncertain. When Peach Yarrow heard Xingguo's words, she could not help but interrupt. Just the 108 stalks of bronze epic starlight grass and 36 bronze epic floating cloud flowers used here, as well as the completely jade textured wood used to carve the roulette, shouldn't be as simple as a top up-and-coming force, right? Moreover, there is also a bronze legend Oath Lily of the Valley. I think just based on this layout, it can already be called the standard of a veteran faction. Upon hearing that, Xingguo replied very seriously. Big sister, young lady's question naturally has to be answered seriously. The things that Sky City's star web can display might not necessarily exist in reality. What if it is rented? But even if it can rent so many things, it is at least at the level of a top emerging faction. When Sun Ningxiang heard Xingguo's words, her eyes flickered. Sun Ningxiang knew that Xingguo had always been cautious with her words, but the moment Sun Ningxiang met Lin Yuan's eyes, she could see the calmness in his eyes. A person with this kind of gaze must have a lot of confidence in his heart. However, just by looking at the layout, Sun Ningxiang wasn't sure how many Creation Master resources the Sky City had. Even if Sky City had Pinnacle Class 4 Creation Master resources, if there weren't enough high-end Creation Master resources, it would only be able to quench the Dew Parterre's thirst temporarily. It could not solve the fundamental problem of the dew-congealing immortal garden. When Peach Yarrow saw that Sun Ningxiang was so concerned about Sky City, she knew that Sun Ningxiang hoped to borrow Sky City's Creation Master resources. As one of Sun Ningxiang's people, Dao Yarrow was very clear about the problems that dew condensation immortal garden was facing. Dao Yarrow whispered to Sun Ningxiang, "Miss, do you want me to introduce myself now and see if there's a chance of cooperation?" Sun Ningxiang pondered for a moment and said, "On the star web, when a new faction announces its functions, it's bound to reveal some of its sharpness. Even if we want to introduce ourselves, there's no rush. Let's wait and see first." The third one. End of chapter. Chapter 662. Lin Yuan looked at the factions that had arrived and introduced themselves. Those top veteran factions are really arrogant to be able to put on airs. Although there were veteran forces among the forces present, these veteran forces had only recently risen from the ranks of emerging forces. Despite having the strength of veteran factions, they still lacked a lot of resources. At that moment, Lin Yuan suddenly heard someone exclaim at the door. The Aquarium of Bliss, a top veteran faction, is actually here. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan looked toward the door. He saw a man in a blue robe sizing up the surroundings. Lin Yuan raised his brows when he saw this blue-robed man. He and this blue-robed man were really fated. Back when he had gone to the Sea of Bliss, he had been kicked out by this blue-robed man. However, at that time, he had been standing in the Sea of Bliss's territory, and now, the Sea of Bliss was standing in his territory. Lin Yuan saw this blue-robed man walk straight toward him after checking the surroundings. Upon seeing the blue-robed man walking over, Old Feng, who had a goatee, hurriedly moved to the side. He shifted his position to the blue-robed man. After all, the mountain opening chamber of commerce's top veteran faction, the Sea of Bliss, was an existence that they could not afford to offend. Lin Yuan heard the blue-robed man speak to him. "Are you Sky City's steward? If it's convenient, the Sea of Bliss would like to discuss a collaboration with Sky City." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan's fingers gently stroked the table. Gao Feng was prepared to deal with the Sea of Bliss. He also planned to use the flower brocade pearls in his inventory to quietly monopolize the aurora pollen in the market. If the Sea of Bliss angelfish were flowers, then the aurora pollen would be the soil to nurture the flowers. His act of monopolizing the aurora pollen was tantamount to cutting off the Sea of Bliss path of retreat. At such a time, the Sea of Bliss's people wanted to discuss a collaboration with him. Lin Yuan could not help but feel that it was very interesting. Lin Yuan nodded gently at the blue-robed man. If other veteran factions wanted to cooperate with him at this time, he would not even think about it and would reject them. After all, he planned to enter seclusion for a period of time to raise his spirit chi professional rank. Moreover, when doing he helped him collect law origin crystals, he also needed to take out bronze epic phase to exchange. Although Lin Yuan's faction, Sky City, had the ability to take out bronze epic phase, Sky City was not a match for Lin Yuan's faction. But in the end, Lin Yuan was only providing the production capacity. With such an ability, he could make a lot of money no matter what, so there was no need to cooperate with other factions. However, he was not in a hurry to reject the Blissful Sea Tribe's cooperation. Instead, he wanted to know what the Blissful Sea Tribe wanted to cooperate with him. When the blue-robed man saw that Lin Yuan only nodded slightly and did not answer his question, he frowned. He felt that the masked young man in front of him was too arrogant. However, when the blue-robed man recalled the bronze epic phase and the bronze legend Oath Lily of the Valley on the table, he replied patiently. We, the Sea of Bliss, would like to offer you an order to upgrade the grade of the Angelfish of Bliss. If you help us, the Sea of Bliss, improve the grade of the Angelfish of Bliss, we will pay you accordingly. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan's fingers gently tapped on the table, emitting a soft doo-doo-doo sound. He pondered for a moment and said, "It isn't a simple task to upgrade the Angelfish of Bliss's quality. It requires high-ranked creation masters' resources. If your Blissful Sea Tribe doesn't want to cooperate with other forces, I'm afraid that no force would be willing to accept you, right?" Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, the blue-robed man's expression became a little awkward. The Sea of Paradise's development had been restricted for the past few years, and a large part of the reason was that the Sea of Paradise didn't have enough high-ranked creation master resources to support them. Moreover, they had yet to find a suitable partner to help the Blissful Ocean Tribe improve their Angelfish of Blissful. This caused the Blissful Sea Tribe to be unable to take another step forward. When the blue-robed man saw that Lin Yuan didn't reject him directly, he quickly said, "That's right. What kind of reward do you need? Just tell me. As long as it's not an exorbitant demand, our Sea of Bliss tribe can accept it." Upon hearing the conversation between Lin Yuan and the blue-robed man, Sun Ningxiang, who was standing at the side, revealed a playful expression. She looked at Lin Yuan and then at the blue-robed man beside Lin Yuan. As soon as Lin Yuan mentioned price instead of reward, Sun Ningxiang knew that Lin Yuan had enmity toward the Sea of Bliss tribe. Normal people wouldn't think much of such subconscious words. However, the Dew Immortal Garden was mediating with the various top factions, especially with the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden. Sun Ningxiang had already become a master of words. At that moment, Lin Yuan silently pondered in his heart. Every 40 minutes, he would be able to upgrade a normal Eye Normal Fey to Bronze Eye Epic. If he could directly upgrade a Bronze Flawless Fey, he would only need about 20 minutes to upgrade the Bronze Flawless Fey to Epic if he did not increase its grade. It wouldn't take too long for Lin Yuan. Furthermore, the Sea of Bliss tribe did indeed have something that Lin Yuan wanted. If the Sea of Bliss tribe is willing to pay a sufficient price, the order is not impossible. It's just that Sky City doesn't like to accept small orders that aren't profitable. Therefore, the order to upgrade the Angelfish of Bliss quality is limited to Bronze Angelfish of Bliss. Lin Yuan's words immediately made the blue-robed man's face filled with surprise. It also made everyone present, including Sun Ningxiang, reveal an astonished expression. If a top-notch veteran faction like the Sea of Bliss tribe wanted to talk about cooperation, they naturally wouldn't go through all the trouble to talk about upgrading Bronze Phase from Elite to Flawless. Even so, this masked youth could still casually say that he would only accept orders for Bronze Phase. Furthermore, he wouldn't accept small orders that weren't profitable. What kind of confidence did he have? That's way too awesome. Sun Ningxiang's mind couldn't help but become a little active. At the same time, Sun Ningxiang truly didn't want Sky City to cooperate with the Sea of Bliss tribe. If Sky City and the Sea of Bliss tribe were to cooperate, It would be the same as taking away a portion of Sky City's high-class Creation Master resources. When the Dew Immortal Garden and Sky City talked about cooperation again, the high-class Creation Master resources that Sky City could provide would be reduced. This made Sun Ningxiang, who was in urgent need of Creation Master resources, feel as though she had eaten a fly. Furthermore, this fly was stuck in her throat and couldn't be swallowed. Exploding the fourth chapter, asking for monthly votes. Sob, sob, sob. End of this chapter. Chapter 663. However, before the blue-robed man could be pleasantly surprised for a few seconds, Lin Yuan spoke again. It's meaningless to upgrade Bronze Elite to Bronze Flawless. Therefore, our order is to upgrade the Bronze Flawless Angelfish of Bliss to Epic. In that case, for every Bronze Flawless Angelfish of Bliss to Legend, the Sea of Bliss tribe will have to pay me 1 Platinum Supreme Grade Angelfish of Bliss. As for the quality of the Platinum Flawless Angelfish of Bliss, it will depend on the Sea of Bliss tribe's sincerity in our upcoming cooperation. Lin Yuan's words were no different from asking for an exorbitant price. Although the Sea of Bliss tribe sold the young Angelfish of Bliss, they rarely sold the adult Angelfish of Bliss. Moreover, the adult angelfish that Lin Yuan wanted were Platinum Supreme Grade Angelfish of Bliss. Under normal circumstances, the Sea of Bliss tribe had strict control over the Supreme Grade Angelfish of Bliss. After most of the Supreme Grade Angelfish of Bliss were nurtured to Platinum by the Sea of Bliss tribe, they would start to collect fish coats for sale. Even if some buyers could obtain Supreme Grade Angelfish of Bliss from the Sea of Bliss tribe, they would need to purchase a large number of Immortal Bliss plates. According to the Sea of Bliss tribe's rules, they would have to pay for the 1,000 inferior Angelfish of Bliss. If they were lucky, they would need to spend close to 10 million Radiance dollars to obtain a Supreme Grade Angelfish of Bliss. Lin Yuan's request could be said to shake the Sea of Bliss tribe's foundation. Just as the blue-robed man was about to refuse, Lin Yuan spoke again. As far as I know, the quality of the fish coats produced by Bronze Epic Angelfish of Bliss will be very different when they reach Platinum. Moreover, as a breeding fish, a Bronze Angelfish of Bliss will have a higher chance of giving birth to a Supreme Grade Angelfish of Bliss. Lin Yuan's words made the blue-robed man's refusal stuck in his throat. However, Lin Yuan had yet to finish his words. Angelfish of Bliss can enter the pregnancy period at bronze and lay eggs. If you have a Bronze Flawless female Angelfish of Bliss that is pregnant, I can also promote it to Epic. However, the quality improvement during the pregnancy period isn't stable. If the Angelfish of Bliss drops from Epic to Flawless after laying eggs, I won't care anymore. Hearing this, the blue-robed man's eyes lit up with surprise again. Just as he was about to agree subconsciously, he remembered that this matter was of great importance and that he did not have the right to do so. The blue-robed man hurriedly said to Lin Yuan, "Wait a moment, I'll go ask for instructions now." Although the blue-robed man said he was asking for instructions, the expression on his face made it seem like he was asking for credit. If a Bronze Flawless Angelfish of Bliss wanted to evolve to Epic quality during the gestation period, it had to be operated by a Class 4 Creation Master. The difficulty was equivalent to upgrading an ordinary Bronze Flawless Angelfish of Bliss to Epic by 3 times. Raising the Bronze Angelfish of Bliss to Epic grade during the gestation period would increase the possibility of Bronze Angelfish of Bliss giving birth to Premium Angelfish of Bliss. Seeing how happy the blue-robed man was, Lin Yuan, who was a 1,000-layer cake, started to plot against the Blissful Sea tribe. The Angelfish of Bliss was not only able to produce a precious spiritual ingredient like fish skin, but it was also an extremely greedy fish fae. Her beautiful appearance was completely dependent on the nutrients obtained from the aurora pollen. The beautiful appearance of the Angelfish of Bliss would lose its luster if it went hungry. 2 days of starvation might cause a delicate and fragile fae like the Angelfish of Bliss to die. The Angelfish of Bliss didn't excrete, and the fish skin that was shed was actually the metabolic product of the Angelfish of Bliss. Lin Yuan had witnessed how much the Angelfish of Bliss could eat. When Jiao Feng had transported the 30 Angelfish of Bliss to him, he had sprinkled 5 catties of aurora pollen inside. When it was transported through ostrich logistics, there was only slightly more than 500 catties of aurora pollen left in the Fae storage box. The reason why Lin Yuan was willing to accept the Blissful Sea Tribe's order was to turn the Blissful Sea Tribe's one-layered scheme into a three-layered scheme. The first layer of the scheme was the aurora pollen that Lin Yuan had originally intended to monopolize. The second layer of the scheme required Lin Yuan to complete the first layer of the scheme before he could execute it. Once the second layer of the scheme was executed, it would be a devastating blow to the Blissful Sea Tribe. Lin Yuan was helping the Blissful Sea Tribe to nurture breeding fish and upgrade the bronze angelfish of bliss to epic quality. This was equivalent to increasing the number of angelfish of bliss that the Blissful Sea Tribe possessed in a short period of time. As the pregnant angelfish of bliss laid a large number of eggs, after a period of development, the angelfish of bliss would face an explosive growth. The growth of the angelfish of bliss would cause the Blissful Sea Tribe's demand for aurora pollen to increase significantly. This period of time was enough for Lin Yuan to complete the first layer of the scheme. After giving birth, the female angelfish of bliss and the newly hatched angelfish of bliss would be abnormally weak and would die easily. This was also the reason why, even though each pregnant female angelfish of bliss could lay so many eggs, the Blissful Sea Tribe would not be able to nurture many angelfish of bliss that could be sold every year. This was the stage where Lin Yuan would unleash his power against the Blissful Sea Tribe's first layer of the scheme. However, Lin Yuan understood that no matter how much he monopolized the aurora pollen, he could not guarantee that there would be no aurora pollen in the market. Moreover, it was impossible for the Blissful Sea Tribe to not have any aurora pollen in stock. However, since the Blissful Sea Tribe had such a huge demand for aurora pollen, even if the aurora pollen's price fluctuated a little, it would be a huge blow. Moreover, with Lin Yuan's monopoly, even if the Blissful Sea Tribe took out a large number of radiance dollars, they might not be able to buy enough aurora pollen to meet their internal demand. At that time, the Blissful Sea Tribe's angelfish of bliss would die due to the lack of aurora pollen. As for how the Blissful Sea Tribe would choose and which angelfish of bliss to protect, it was not something that Lin Yuan needed to consider. The second layer of the scheme would cause great damage to the Blissful Sea Tribe. However, this second layer of the scheme was not the end. Lin Yuan's third layer of the scheme was the real finishing touch. Lin Yuan would increase the quality of the Blissful Sea Tribe's angelfish of bliss during the pregnant period. Even if these angelfish of bliss increased their quality, they would still drop after laying eggs. This would not increase the Blissful Sea Tribe's foundation. Behind each transaction, Lin Yuan would be able to obtain an adult platinum supreme grade angelfish of bliss from the Blissful Sea Tribe. It was equivalent to plundering a part of the Blissful Sea Tribe's foundation. Such an operation was also equivalent to subtly influencing the Blissful Sea Tribe's fish coat business. First update, asking for monthly votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 664. Lin Yuan was confident that with just these 3 layers of tricks, he would be able to turn a veteran faction like the Blissful Sea Tribe into a half-dead state. The half-dead Blissful Sea Tribe could be handed over to his good brother, who was also his partner, Gao Feng, to deal the final blow. After a short while, the blue-robed man returned to Lin Yuan and said, "I've asked for your permission." "I've already asked for your permission. However, every bronze flawless supreme grade blissful angelfish in the gestation period is the wealth of the Blissful Sea Tribe. What if the breeding fails?" Lin Yuan scratched the hair on the back of his head. He wanted to fail. However, with the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone and the Mountain River Eternal Life Carp's exclusive skill, Place of Life, he could not fail even if he wanted to. If something happens to every bronze flawless supreme grade blissful angelfish in the gestation period, I can compensate the Blissful Sea Tribe with 5 bronze epic supreme grade blissful angelfish in a normal state. The blue-robed man had a bright smile on his face. In that case, let's establish a cooperation in reality and swear on the willpower rune. Before the blue-robed man could finish his words, Lin Yuan interrupted him. An oath is not a complete guarantee for this kind of cooperation. If the Blissful Sea Tribe is willing to sacrifice you, won't your oath be useless? We can sign a contract and bring it to the spirit guards for notarization. When something happens to either party, the other party doesn't need to waste any effort. The spirit guards will immediately take action to resolve it. In order to express our sincerity, the spirit guards will pay for the notarization fee. Lin Yuan's words made the blue-robed man feel very awkward, but it also made him feel much more assured. There was nothing in this world that was more assured than notarization in the spirit guards. After finalizing the cooperation, the blue-robed man was preparing to return to the blissful sea tribe to receive the reward and praise. He did not expect to be stopped by Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan asked, "Does the blissful sea tribe have aurora morning glory?" The blue-robed man's mind was already on the reward and praise when he returned, so he asked without any hesitation, "What's so good about the aurora morning glory? It takes a year for it to produce pollen. Growing my own aurora morning glory is simply a thankless task. Moreover, the aurora pollen has very few uses, and it's never out of stock on the market. We, the blissful sea tribe, have never needed to spend any effort on the aurora pollen." Upon hearing that, the corners of Lin Yuan's mouth raised into a happy arc. The finalization of the deal between Lin Yuan and the blissful sea tribe made everyone look at Lin Yuan differently. At first, everyone was only surprised by the layout of the Sky Castle. But now, Sky City had decided to cooperate with the blissful sea tribe. In everyone's hearts, the Sky City was on the same level as the blissful sea clan, a top veteran force. As for Sun Ningxiang, she could vaguely tell from Lin Yuan's words that Lin Yuan's purpose for the blissful sea tribe was definitely not as simple as cooperation. Just based on this simple conversation, Sun Ningxiang simply could not figure out what exactly Lin Yuan was planning. When she recalled that Lin Yuan had seemingly asked about the aurora morning glory in a casual manner, Sun Ningxiang focused her attention on the aurora morning glory. Although the Dew Immortal Garden was in turmoil, it was still a peak force. A centipede dies, but it doesn't fall down. The dew-congealing Immortal Garden still had a dominant position in the market for plants and spirit materials produced from plants and spirit materials. The dew-congealing Immortal Garden had a large number of aurora morning glories. It could be said that 1/3 of the aurora pollen on the market was produced by the dew-congealing Immortal Garden's plantation. Sun Ningxiang glanced at Dao Yarrow as she spoke. Pay attention to the situation of the aurora morning glory and aurora pollen in the market. Also, get the Dew Immortal Gardens plantation to stop selling this year's matured aurora pollen. Dao Yarrow didn't understand why Sun Ningxiang would make such an arrangement, but she wouldn't question Sun Ningxiang's decision. "Yes, miss. When I go back today, I will order people to pay attention to the flow of aurora petunia and aurora pollen in the market, and give instructions to the small plantations. If there is any abnormality in the flow of aurora petunia and aurora pollen in the market, I will inform Miss immediately." The yellow-dressed Xingguo looked at Sun Ningxiang before looking at Lin Yuan, who was seated at a distant table. He seemed to understand Sun Ningxiang's meaning. However, he also felt that his young miss, Sun Ningxiang, was being overly sensitive. Xingguo whispered, "Miss, I said before that the lowest level of Sky City is an emerging force. Now, I think that Sky City is at least a top-notch veteran force like the blissful Oceanic clan." Hearing this, Sun Ningxiang nodded non-committally. Based on Lin Yuan's previous attitude toward the blissful sea tribe and the trace of scheming against the blissful sea tribe in Lin Yuan's words, Sun Ningxiang deduced that the blissful sea tribe was the blissful sea tribe. He knew that Sky City, a newly established private force, must be as powerful as the blissful sea tribe. They might even be stronger than the blissful sea clan. A leopard could scheme against a leopard, and a lion could also scheme against a leopard. But a mouse couldn't scheme against a leopard no matter what. Sometimes, scheming itself represented a kind of contempt. It was just like how the Miao family's beast creation garden was plotting against his Dew Immortal Garden. He looked at the time and was not prepared to wait for the other factions to arrive. Instead, he said directly, "Everyone has been here for so long. I'm sure that apart from those who are here to watch the show, there are also some friends who are here to show their support after seeing Sky City's newly announced function. In that case, those friends who are here to show their support can go to these 108 star wheels and draw a fate letter. Each of the 108 star wheels has a fate letter hanging on it. There are a total of 108 fate letters. Out of the 108 fate letters, only one of them has a white card. The cards in the other 107 letters are all black. Since Sky City's private faction territory has just announced its function, you don't need to pay a special price to draw a fate letter this time. However, in the future, each fate letter will be drawn at a price of 300,000 radiance dollars. After paying the price of 3 source-type items, the person who draws the white card of the fate letter can customize a bronze epic fae that fits the willpower rune. You don't need to provide any spiritual ingredients to customize a bronze epic fae. All the consumption will be provided by Sky City. However, after completing the transaction, the person or faction that orders the bronze epic fae will have to issue an exchange oath in the Oath Lily of the Valley. My Sky City can trade any spiritual material or fae that you have with you according to the market price. After completing a trade, the oath of exchange will be cancelled. The second one was even better. End of this chapter. Chapter 666. The purple-robed man's expression turned cold as he spoke in a cold voice. This is the first time I've heard of a faction daring to say that the Miao family's beast creation garden is not refined. Sun Ningxiang, who was standing in the crowd, took a deep look at Lin Yuan and let out a sigh of relief. The cooperation between the Dew Immortal Garden and the Beast Creation Garden is destined to be impossible. The cooperation between the Dew Immortal Garden and the Beast Creation Garden is equivalent to the Beast Creation Garden absorbing the Dew Immortal Garden's blood and using the Dew Immortal Garden's flesh to nourish the Beast Creation Garden. Since this youth wearing a strange mask has such confidence to go against the Beast Creation Garden, it at least means that Sky City is not afraid of the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden. At this time, Sun Ningxiang had made up her mind to strive for cooperation with Sky City. This was the best opportunity. Sun Ningxiang tilted her head and gave some instructions to Dao Yarrow, who was wearing a pink dress. When Dao Yarrow heard Sun Ningxiang's words, her eyes were filled with shock. She asked in disbelief, "Miss, are you sure you want to do this? This is equivalent to falling out with the Miao family." What if Dao Yarrow was interrupted by Sun Ningxiang before she could finish her sentence? Grandma is right. As long as she is here, the Dew Immortal Garden will not fall from the top faction. Even if we cooperate with the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden now, the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden will change from a hypocritical partner to a ravenous wolf after a year. Therefore, falling out with them won't change much. Sometimes, we need to make a bet to get a chance to break the deadlock. Dao Yarrow nodded seriously and said in a deep voice, "Miss, leave it to me. Leave it to me, miss." Before the sturdy purple-robed youth could wait for Lin Yuan's reply, he heard a delicate shout. "You're only wearing a green dog chain around your neck, but you're still talking about the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden. I've only heard fishermen praise their fish ponds for being beautiful. I've never heard of the mud at the bottom of the pond praising the pond." This shout caused the gazes of everyone present to involuntarily shift towards the pink-clothed Dao Yarrow. The veins on the purple-robed youth's forehead bulged as he looked in the direction of the shout. With a single glance, he saw Dao Yarrow, Sun Ningxiang, and Xingguo beside her. The purple-robed man was stunned. The reason why the purple-robed man was stunned was not because he found Sun Ningxiang and her 2 maids here. Instead, he was surprised by the attitude of Sun Ningxiang's maid towards him. Sun Ningxiang was at the side, and it was clear that all of this was under Sun Ningxiang's orders. The Sun family had always been seeking cooperation with the Beast Creation Garden. Why did they suddenly change their attitude? The sturdy purple-robed youth glared at Dao Yarrow and said to Sun Ningxiang, "Sun Ningxiang, what is the meaning of this?" Sun Ningxiang tucked a strand of hair on her forehead behind her ear and said unhurriedly, "That's exactly what it means. As a member of a top force, haven't you heard of the saying that bloodline is a chasm? Are you even worthy of calling me, Sun Ningxiang, by my name? No matter what, the Sun family is still a top force. I am a direct descendant of the Sun family, so I can mobilize everything in the Sun family. As a branch descendant of the Miao family, you should be here with a mission, right? Even if the owner of this place says that you are not a refined guest, you cannot leave. As a branch descendant, if I don't complete the mission, no matter how much the direct descendant values me, I will still be punished." Feeling the gazes from all around, the muscles of the sturdy purple-robed man started to spasm. He was wearing the Beast Creation Garden's 100 Beast new seedling attire, and he was respected everywhere he went. However, he was actually being insulted by Sun Ningxiang here, and he couldn't even retort. As a valued branch descendant of the Miao family, he naturally knew that the Miao family was coveting the Sun family's Ju Immortal Garden. If he said anything here and caused Sun Ningxiang to give up on the Ju Immortal Garden and not cooperate with the Beast Creation Garden, not only would he be punished, but his entire branch would also be implicated. At this moment, the most confused person was Lin Yuan. Where did these two girls with bad breath come from? But they stink pretty well. As the saying went, one always had a goal in everything they did. It seemed that this Sun Ningxiang, a direct descendant of the Sun family, was looking for him for something. Now that Sun Ningxiang had rashly interfered in the conflict between him and the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden, she was expressing goodwill to him. Lin Yuan didn't know these three girls in reality. At present, Lin Yuan had only revealed his creation master resources. It seemed like the Sun family was also very interested in his creation master resources, just like the Blissful Sea clan. Lin Yuan originally didn't have any intention of cooperating with other factions. However, if a top faction took the initiative to express goodwill, Lin Yuan wouldn't reject it. Lin Yuan and Gao Feng's relationship allowed Lin Yuan to borrow the Gao family's resources to a certain extent. Up until now, Lin Yuan had been able to accumulate resources so quickly. To a large extent, it was related to the few young elemental shellfish that he had obtained from Gao Feng. With the young elemental shellfish from Gao Feng, Lin Yuan could use the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone to turn the elemental shellfish into an ATM that could continuously produce elemental pearls. Even Lin Yuan's greatest fortuitous opportunity, the floating island whale, had been traded from Gao Feng. Being on good terms or cooperating with a top faction was equivalent to being able to absorb this top faction's resources. Lin Yuan thought to himself, as a top faction, the Sun family should have a lot of Law Origin crystals in storage. Ever since he found out about the Law Origin crystals. After the Sacred Sword-wielding queen absorbed the Law Origin crystals, the complete laws in her skirt had improved. Lin Yuan was focused on collecting Law Origin crystals as soon as possible. There were a total of 3 reasons. The first reason was to quickly raise the Sacred Sword-wielding queen's grade. The second reason was to collect law crystals that contained pure power of laws. The third reason was to raise the 3 complete laws in the Sacred Sword-wielding queen's skirt. Since the Sacred Sword-wielding queen's skirt could raise the pinnacle of Myth 2 to Myth 3. Lin Yuan believed that as long as there were enough Law Origin crystals, the Cold Flame Law, Night Death Law, and Dead Dream Law in the Sacred Sword-wielding queen's skirt could break through the limits of myth breeds. They could be raised to the strength that a creation breed Fae could comprehend. However, since he might cooperate with the girl with the bad breath, he had to first whet her appetite. It would make the girl with the bad breath anxious and give her a sense of crisis from the bottom of her heart. After all, there was a famous saying among scumbags. Only when you are about to lose it will you cherish it. This saying was also applicable to cooperation between factions. Fourth, more. Tipping and updating for book friend 20200426210521923. Button was on vacation and writing crazily at home. Haven't you been updating recently? Sob, 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 seeking monthly votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 667. Lin Yuan looked up in Sun Ningxiang's direction and found that she was looking at him. Lin Yuan nodded gently at Sun Ningxiang. Sun Ningxiang was delighted to get Lin Yuan's response. Although Sun Ningxiang did not intend to cooperate with the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden, it was not a good thing to fall out with the Miao family here. As long as her grandmother was still around, it was impossible for the Miao family to pull Ju Immortal Garden down from being a top faction in a year. However, the Miao family could put pressure on Ju Immortal Garden in all aspects. This made it even more difficult for Ju Immortal Garden to move forward. Sun Ningxiang's sudden attack on the strong purple-robed youth was a gamble in her heart. If Lin Yuan did not appreciate it, then Sun Ningxiang would have lost half of her gamble. Everything she had done now would be in vain. Sun Ningxiang's impression of Lin Yuan and the Sky City became better when she received a response as soon as she made a move. However, what happened next made Sun Ningxiang clench her fists tightly. The strong purple-robed youth glanced at the crowd of onlookers with cold eyes. As a result, the voices of the crowd that were originally in heated discussion immediately quieted down. The strong purple-robed youth ignored Sun Ningxiang's attack and turned to look at Lin Yuan. "I'm here because the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden wants to talk about cooperation with Sky City." Lin Yuan pondered for a moment. Then, he looked at the strong purple-robed youth playfully. "Cooperation? Sky City is most willing to cooperate with other factions. We just became friendly partners with the Blissful Sea clan. I wonder how the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden wants to cooperate with Sky City." As he spoke, Lin Yuan felt more and more like a thousand-layer cake. Due to the hatred between Lin Yuan and the Zheng family's second young master, Lin Yuan had already regarded the Miao family as a hostile faction. Moreover, the Miao family had sent people to mess with him. Therefore, it was impossible for Lin Yuan to reach a cooperation with the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden. Lin Yuan had said this mainly to keep Sun Ningxiang in suspense. Lin Yuan did not know much about the top faction, Dew Immortal Garden. He planned to let Wen Yu sort out the Sun family's Dew Immortal Garden's information after she returned. However, as soon as his private force, Sky City, released its functions, the direct descendants of the Sun family appeared. If the Sun family was still hiding in the crowd and observing, it was obvious how much the Sun family desired creation masters. On the other hand, Lin Yuan wanted to throw the Blissful Sea clan to the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden. The Blissful Sea tribe had indeed reached an agreement with him, and this was a fact witnessed by all the people present. The only business of his private organization, Sky City, was the private organization territory on Star Web. There was nothing the Miao family could do to him. On the other hand, the Blissful Sea tribe had a lot of assets, and the Miao family could take advantage of them. He planned to put in more effort to cooperate with the Blissful Sea tribe in the future and help them strengthen more supreme-grade angelfish of Blissful during the gestation period. This would allow the Blissful Sea tribe to have more angelfish of Blissful, which could be considered as compensation to the Blissful Sea tribe. The purple-robed youth was stunned by Lin Yuan's words. Based on Lin Yuan's previous attitude, the purple-robed youth did not expect Lin Yuan to have the intention to cooperate. The muscular purple-robed youth pondered for a moment before saying, "If Sky City and the Beast Creation Garden cooperate, the Beast Creation Garden can ensure that Sky City can maintain its current functions. However, Sky City needs to complete the orders assigned by the Beast Creation Garden. The price of the orders will be carefully discussed with the other people in the Beast Creation Garden. The Beast Creation Garden will not let Sky City suffer a loss." Before Lin Yuan could finish listening to the purple-robed youth's words, he rolled his eyes. The Miao family's Beast Creation Garden had a big appetite. They wanted to take over Sky City and make it work for the Beast Creation Garden. Lin Yuan had 100 rejections in his heart and did not want to waste any more time with the purple-robed youth. However, when he saw Sun Ningxiang's clenched fists, Lin Yuan immediately said, "If the price is right, I can consider it." After saying this, Lin Yuan started to count down from 5 in his heart. As soon as Lin Yuan counted to 3, he heard Sun Ningxiang's anxious voice. "The Miao family's Beast Creation Garden is really insincere, and it's getting uglier. The Miao family's Beast Creation Garden is really insincere, and it's getting uglier and uglier. On the contrary, the Dew Immortal Garden is sincere and wants to cooperate with Sky City." At that moment, Lin Yuan was even more certain. The Sun family's Dew Immortal Garden's demand for creation masters was far more urgent than he had imagined. Sun Ningxiang's words made the purple-robed youth's expression suddenly change. Isn't the Dew Immortal Garden already in contact with the Beast Creation Garden and preparing to cooperate? Young Lady Sun is still looking for other factions outside. Does the Dew Immortal Garden not believe in the Beast Creation Garden's strength? Sun Ningxiang wanted to beat the purple-robed youth to death. Sun Ningxiang was very clear about the Beast Creation Garden's scheme against the Dew Immortal Garden. Therefore, she hated the Beast Creation Garden to begin with. In Sun Ningxiang's heart, this purple-robed youth was already a threat to the Dew Immortal Garden and Sky City's cooperation. It could be said that the pressure of the Dew Immortal Garden was now all on Sun Ningxiang. The pressure of supporting a top faction had already exhausted Sun Ningxiang, who had just become an adult. If Dao Yarou and Qing Guo had not been supporting Sun Ningxiang as her left and right hands, Sun Ningxiang would have long collapsed. Now that Sun Ningxiang had finally found hope, the Beast Creation Garden had come to compete with her. This changed Sun Ningxiang's attitude toward the Beast Creation Garden from disgust to hatred. Sun Ningxiang said coldly, "What? When did the Miao family start interfering with our Sun family's matters? Is the Miao family so lenient? If the Beast Creation Garden wants to cooperate with the Dew Immortal Garden, it depends on whether the Dew Immortal Garden is willing. The Dew Immortal Garden feels that the Beast Creation Garden is useless and doesn't want to cooperate. Is there a problem?" Lin Yuan raised his brows when he heard Sun Ningxiang's words. It turned out that this woman called Sun Ningxiang was a master of words. She said that the Beast Creation Garden was useless in front of the Miao family but chose to cooperate with Sky City. Sun Ningxiang had unknowingly placed Sky City in a higher position than the Beast Creation Garden. The Sun family's Dew Immortal Garden was a top faction. Publicly saying such words was equivalent to sweeping the Beast Creation Garden's reputation to the ground. She was using the Beast Creation Garden's reputation to endorse the newly established Sky City. This was a real favor to Lin Yuan and Sky City. The public endorsement of a top faction was enough to let the Sky City, which currently only showed its creation master resources, have a reputation that needed time to ferment. It also covered the already mysterious Sky City with a mysterious veil. Today's first day was even more. Seeking monthly votes. If everyone saw it, they would sign it and let the button know who was reading. Please give the button some suggestions. The button will work hard to improve and keep improving. End of this chapter. Chapter 668. The purple-robed youth's face was as black as an iron pot. The Miao family's plan against the Sun family was of great importance. After hearing Sun Ningxiang's statement, the purple-robed youth no longer had the time or mind to care about the cooperation with the newly established faction, Sky City. He turned around and left. He planned to return to the Miao family and tell everything that had happened here to the Miao family's direct descendants' upper echelons. The decision would be made by the direct descendants' upper echelons. What was happening now was no longer something that the purple-robed youth, who was only wearing a half-circle of green sprouts, could participate in. Once the purple-robed youth left, everyone present was no longer afraid of the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden's momentum. Instead, they began to compete for the 108 fate letters in the wheel. Customizing a bronze epic fey based on the comprehended willpower rune was something that every spirit chi professional could not refuse. Even if they did not have spare willpower runes and did not need to customize a high-quality bronze fey, they could also save such an opportunity as a resource for a rainy day. As a result, any individual or faction that could take out 3 source-type items planned to participate in the next competition. What if they were the lucky ones? There were a lot of people present, but there were only 108 fate letters in the star wheel. This made most of the people present not even have the chance to participate. It could be said that everyone present was a potential competitor. The star wheel was hidden in the clouds, and the hall was extremely spacious. Some of them would most likely enter the clouds and mist only to end up empty-handed, unable to even find their celestial wheels. Moreover, the fate letters were hung on the back of the star wheel. Even if the fate letters on the star wheel were taken away, there was still no change on the surface of the star wheel. This made it very likely that even if one was lucky enough to touch a star wheel, the fate letters on the star wheel would have long been taken away by others. Sun Ningxiang looked at the people with the fate letters behind the money-making star wheel and suddenly had an idea. Above the heavens, the star wheel was raging. Among the glittering starlight, there was a mystery bestowed by the heavens. The clouds and mist lingered, hiding the mystery. At this moment, the people who were frantically fighting for the fate letters were like the few common people fighting for this mystery. Above these few common people and the heavens, it was a force called Sky City that was overlooking everything. When Sun Ningxiang was young, Dew Congealing Immortal Garden was at its peak. At that time, Sun Ningxiang's little brother was not born yet, so Sun Ningxiang was the only direct descendant of the Congealing Dew Immortal Garden. It would not be an exaggeration to say that she was the apple of his eye. As the pearl of a peak force, Dew Immortal Garden, Sun Ningxiong had seen much of the world since she was young. However, at this moment, Sun Ningxiong felt that she could not see through the masked youth in front of her. Sun Ningxiong said to Peach Demon and Apricot Guo, "You two can go back first. Dao Yao, there are still some small collaborations between Dew Immortal Garden and Beast Creation Garden. Go and stop them." Xinghua, spread the news of Dew Immortal Garden rejecting the collaboration with the Beast Creation Garden. "Make our Sun family's stance clear." Dao Yao and Xinghua responded, "Yes, miss." Then, they left the territory of Sky City's private organization and began to deal with the matters related to the Dew Condensation Immortal Garden according to Sun Ningxiang's instructions. Even if there was no clear cooperation between the top forces, their private businesses were inextricably linked. Moreover, it was between the Dew Immortal Garden, which had a huge demand for Creation Master's resources, and the Beast Creation Garden, which produced Creation Master resources. For Sun Ningxiang to give such an order, it could be said that she was planning to go all out and stake everything on one throw. Lin Yuan was a little surprised by Sun Ningxiang's decisiveness. At the same time, he understood that Sun Ningxiang's current action was once again expressing her determination to cooperate with him. Sun Ningxiang walked forward and said to Lin Yuan, "I'm sorry. If what I just said gets out, the Miao family might not be able to tolerate Sky City." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan smiled non-committally and said, "I'm sorry. Whether or not the Miao family can accept Sky City depends on the Miao family's magnanimity. Whether or not the Miao family can accept Sky City depends on Sky City's own ability. You don't have to worry about Sky City." Lin Yuan was only relying on his own ability and the Spirit Lock spatial zone. Even if they could reach the height of Class 5 Creation Masters, which was far superior to the Miao family, they would not be able to do so. However, in terms of the number of Creation Master resources, Lin Yuan was undoubtedly inferior to the Miao family, especially low-class Creation Master resources. However, Lin Yuan was not afraid of the Miao family's suppression. It was simply unrealistic for the Creation Master factions to suppress each other and limit the source of customers. In an environment where Creation Master resources were abnormally scarce, as long as there were genuine Creation Master resources, it was impossible for there to be no customers. Therefore, what the Miao family could do was nothing more than to fight a price war or limit Sky City's access to basic spiritual ingredients. It was a fundamental attack on Sky City. However, Lin Yuan had always been in the business of gaining something with nothing at all. Apart from energy ores, which every spirit chi professional needed, and time, Lin Yuan did not need any spiritual ingredients. Under such circumstances, it was impossible for the Miao family to block Sky City's spiritual ingredients. If there was a price war, the longer it lasted, the more the Miao family would lose. Lin Yuan, who was empty-handed, would always only profit and never lose. Sun Ningxiang was about to say something else when the person who had drawn the white card in the fate letter had already appeared. Under the envious gazes of the others, a tall woman wearing cyan half-body armor walked in front of Lin Yuan. The tall woman in the cyan half-body armor was exceptionally excited. She first let out a yeah before opening her mouth to speak. She first exclaimed before saying, "My lord, I have drawn a fate letter with a white card. It's just that the willpower rune I comprehended is rather special, and the direction of my affinity with Fays is also rather special. Therefore, I want to provide a bronze Fey myself, and my lord can enhance it to epic. I wonder if it's possible?" Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan did not refuse and nodded. "Since you want to provide your own Fey, it saves me the trouble of sensing your willpower rune. Of course, the premise is that the Fey you provide me cannot be a Fey like the Spirit Siphon Goldfish, which requires multiple times the consumption of Creation Master resources." The woman in cyan half-body armor hurriedly replied, "My lord, don't worry. My lord, don't worry. I will definitely provide a normal Fey." Lin Yuan said straightforwardly, "If it's convenient, you can summon the Fey for me to see." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, the woman in cyan half-body armor waved her hand and summoned a pig-shaped lifeform with a long nose. Lin Yuan used true data to check this pig-shaped lifeform with a long nose and immediately knew why the woman in cyan half-body armor had chosen to take the initiative to provide a Fey. The second one was even better. End of this chapter. Chapter 669. When looking for a creation master to customize a Fae based on the willpower rune, the Fae would comprehend all sorts of willpower runes when evolving to bronze grade, and there was no way to control it. This made it very likely that Spirit Chi professionals didn't need exclusive skills to enhance bronze epic Faes. Therefore, when customizing a high-quality bronze Fae based on the willpower rune, it was very common for the buyer to provide a bronze Fae. The Drought Sand Boar that the lady in green half-armor had summoned was a rare Fire-Earth dual-attribute Fae. Its exclusive skill, Drought Gravity, could increase the gravity of the arid land that was deprived of water elements. As the Drought Sand Boar became stronger, its control over the Drought Sand gravity would also continuously increase. In fact, it could even produce a decent killing effect. The change of gravity in a small region would affect the same object. As long as the difference between the two types of gravity was large enough, the object would be torn apart. The lady in green half-armor crouched on the ground and touched the Drought Sand Boar that was lazily lying on the ground. "My lord, do you think this Drought Sand Boar is all right?" Lin Yuan nodded. "Yes." Lin Yuan pointed at the bronze legend Oath Lily of the Valley on the table and said to the lady in green, "According to the rules I mentioned earlier, swear on this Oath Lily of the Valley." "According to the rules I just mentioned, swear on this Oath Lily of the Valley." The tall lady in green half-armor looked at the bronze legend Oath Lily of the Valley on the table and couldn't help but have an intoxicated expression. "I didn't expect that I would be able to see a bronze legend Fae in this lifetime and even swear on it. However, I don't have any overly precious spiritual ingredients or Faes. Therefore, my lord shouldn't be able to obtain anything good according to my oath." In response to the tall woman's words, Lin Yuan smiled non-committally. According to the oath, when exchanging for resources, Lin Yuan would need to take out resources of equal value for the exchange. During the exchange process, Lin Yuan wouldn't be able to gain any advantage. Lin Yuan wanted to obtain this Oath Lily of the Valley in case he needed a specific Fae or spiritual ingredient and couldn't find it. He could use the accumulated oath of the legend Oath Lily of the Valley to search for it from customers who had traded with him. This was a resource exchange channel with Sky City as the core. As he accumulated more and more oaths of exchange, the possibility of him being able to exchange for good things would increase. In the exchange oath, Lin Yuan chose to trade. As long as the other party had resources, he couldn't refuse. In such a transaction, even though the lower limit was very low, the upper limit was also very high. He could even trade for lore crystal fragments and even lore origin crystals. Then, a bell-shaped white flower on the branch of the Oath Lily of the Valley fell into the jade pot in which it was planted. The first oath of exchange was successfully completed. Lin Yuan looked at this dry land sand pig, which was lying on the ground lazily and had a longer nose than the other pig species Faes, and he said to the tall woman in green half-armor, "It's fine. You're the first customer of Sky City, so it's only right that I give you some benefits. Your Drought Sand Boar has already faintly awakened the Mo bloodline. When the time comes, Sky City will help you improve the quality of this Drought Sand Boar, and at the same time, we will also help you to stimulate the taper bloodline in your Drought Sand Boar. Let the Drought Sand Boar evolve into a Drought Sand Taper." Lin Yuan's words made Sun Ningxiang's eyes narrow. At the same time, the tall woman in the green half-body armor exclaimed. It also made those who didn't snatch the fate letter and those who did snatch the fate letter, but the fate letter was a black letter, feel sour. It was as though they had eaten 100 lemons. In order to awaken the Drought Sand Boar's taper bloodline and evolve into a Drought Sand Taper, extremely pure spirit chi was required. Such pure spirit chi could only be concocted by pinnacle class 4 creation masters. However, who would have thought that such a pinnacle class 4 creation master's resources would actually be casually given out by Sky City? That tone was as simple as if you bought 5 catties of apples, I would give you a plastic bag. This was a pinnacle class 4 creation master's resources. It wasn't like upgrading a bronze Fae to epic quality, which only required some effort from a mid-grade class 4 creation master. If a class 5 creation master didn't make a move, a pinnacle class 4 creation master would be the ceiling. In order to find a pinnacle class 4 creation master to make a move, one would first have to establish a relationship with one. Otherwise, It wouldn't be possible no matter how much radiance dollars were offered. Anyone who looked for a pinnacle class 4 creation master to do something would definitely have a lot of radiance dollars in their pockets. It could be said that this tall woman in green half armor had simply picked up a huge bargain. She had made a huge profit. At that moment, Sun Ningxiang's eyes were narrowed. She wasn't concerned about the gains and losses of the tall woman in green half armor. Instead, she was concerned about Lin Yuan's attitude toward high-class creation masters. As a pinnacle faction, the Ju Immortal Garden had 3 pinnacle class 4 creation masters at their peak. As for the resources of these 3 pinnacle class 4 creation masters, the Ju Immortal Garden was extremely cautious when using them. Usually, the more pinnacle the faction, the more cautious they would be when using the creation master's resources. However, this masked man in front of her didn't seem to care about the pinnacle class 4 creation master's resources. In fact, it wasn't that Lin Yuan wanted to give this tall woman some benefits. Instead, it was because this drought sand boar's body already showed signs of bloodline awakening. As long as it was brought into the spirit lock spatial zone and Lin Yuan guided the pure spirit qi into the drought sand boar, the drought sand boar would naturally evolve. Lin Yuan was just doing it casually. The woman in green half armor hurriedly thanked Lin Yuan. "My lord. Thank you so much. In the future, I, Ju Shufan, will forever be your Sky City's #1 fan." After reaching a deal with the woman in green half armor, Lin Yuan's mission of announcing Sky City's private faction territory was considered to have been completed perfectly. Lin Yuan believed that with so many incidents happening in these few hours, Sky City's popularity would definitely remain on the hot list. In fact, its ranking would even be greatly improved. Lin Yuan's main purpose of establishing Sky City was to collect resources. The money that Lin Yuan had earned from steadily developing his faction was already enough for his expenses, but now, his business was getting bigger and bigger. The Spirit Deer Merchant Association even had to compete with the Zheng family in luxury goods resources. The expenditure was definitely not negligible. Therefore, Lin Yuan decided to release the fate letter once a day. However, Lin Yuan didn't have so much time, so he went to Sky City's private territory every day to manage it. Third time. End of this chapter. Chapter 670. The original plan was for Wen Yu to manage Sky City's private territory. However, Wen Yu was now in charge of Sky Castle's intelligence work, and she had a lot of things to do every day. Therefore, he felt that his Sky City should recruit another internal affairs talent who could help Wen Yu. It was just that this kind of internal affairs talent was very important, and it had to be someone who could be completely trusted. Lin Yuan didn't have a target for such a person. After watching Lin Yuan deal with Sky City's functions, Sun Ningxiang said, "You're right. I want to talk to you about the cooperation between Sky City and the Ju Immortal Garden." He didn't put on airs about Sun Ningxiang's proposal. Sun Ningxiang had already expressed her goodwill to Sky City several times in a row. Lin Yuan said, "Since the Ju Immortal Garden is in such urgent need of creation master resources, it must have encountered some trouble." As soon as Lin Yuan finished speaking, Sun Ningxiang admitted with a calm expression, "That's right. The Ju Immortal Garden Sparrow is currently facing a huge problem, and it has a very high demand for creation masters' resources. Especially the resources of high-class creation masters. The Ju Immortal Garden requires a large amount." Sun Ningxiang's words startled Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan was very surprised at Sun Ningxiang's honesty. The larger a force was, the more they would hide when they encountered trouble. But who would have thought that Sun Ningxiang would directly mention the predicament of the congealed Ju Immortal Garden? There are plenty of high-class creation master resources in Sky City, but I don't know if your Ju Immortal Garden can provide what I want. When Sun Ningxiang heard Lin Yuan's words, she felt relieved. As a peak force, the Ju Immortal Garden had accumulated countless resources over the years. As long as Sky City is able to provide high-class creation masters to the Ju Immortal Garden and form a long-term cooperation, the Ju Immortal Garden can offer 10% more than the market price. Now, there was only 1 year left for the Ju Congealing Immortal Garden. As long as she could extend her life, Sun Ningxiang didn't mind spending more money. Sun Ningxiang's words were filled with sincerity. However, Lin Yuan had not hesitated to face the Miao family's pressure in advance when trading with the Dew Immortal Garden. It was not for ordinary market resources. Lin Yuan said, "I'm not interested in money." Lin Yuan's words startled Sun Ningxiang, and she looked at Lin Yuan with a strange gaze. Immediately after, Sun Ningxiang heard Lin Yuan speak again. "Although I'm not interested in money, I'm very interested in law origin crystals." Sun Ningxiang looked at Lin Yuan with an increasingly strange gaze. She felt that after Lin Yuan said that, he had the aura of a hedonist. Although the law origin crystal could mark the death of a level 7 dimensional creature, it also contained a trace of nomological power. However, even Class 5 creation masters couldn't do anything about the law origin crystal. No matter how many additional meanings the law origin crystal had, it was just a useless stone in Sun Ningxiang's opinion. In the early years of the Sun family in Flourishing Flower City, they had cleaned up the major dimensional rifts that had opened near the city. Currently, there were a lot of law origin crystals gathering dust in the Dew Immortal Garden Mansion's storeroom. He hadn't expected that these law origin crystals, which had been eating dust, would actually come in handy. No problem. The Dew Immortal Garden has accumulated some law origin crystals. However, if we only rely on law origin crystals for transactions, the law origin crystals in the Sun family's inventory will soon be exhausted. What other resources does Sky City need for our next cooperation? Lin Yuan was delighted when he heard Sun Ningxiang's words. Although Duan he was an emperor-class expert, he was just one person in the end. Lin Yuan had asked Duan he to help him collect law origin crystals, but the number of law origin crystals he could collect was limited. It was far inferior to the Dew Immortal Garden, which was a top-notch faction. Lin Yuan calculated in his heart. With the Dew Immortal Garden's help, the princess's speed of ascension and the complete law in her skirt would be much faster to break through to Myth 3. In the process of nurturing flowers and phase, the Dew Immortal Garden should inevitably use pure spirit chi to induce the rare flowers and phase to evolve or mutate. This belongs to the category of Pinnacle Class 4 Creation Masters. If the Dew Immortal Garden is willing to trade law crystal fragments or complete law crystals, my Sky City is willing to tilt more high-class Creation Master resources to the Dew Immortal Garden. Sun Ningxiang hesitated slightly and then said with a firm look in her eyes, "No problem. However, complete law crystals are too precious. Even if I have such things, I can't take them out casually. I hope you can understand. The law crystal fragments can be used to trade with Sky City, but I wonder what type of law crystal fragments Sky City wants to trade." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan replied, "I want all of them. My Sky City will accept all law crystal fragments of any type." Lin Yuan's words moved Sun Ningxiang's heart. Fragments of law crystals were often circulated between peak powers. However, any top faction would spend a huge price to exchange for law crystal fragments for a purpose. Without the help of a Class 5 Creation Master to concoct a potion that contained pure law crystal power, only laws that were compatible with the phase attribute could devour each other. For factions, buying law crystal fragments that were not needed was equivalent to locking up a portion of their liquid funds. However, Sky City did not have any requirements for the transaction of law crystal fragments. They needed law crystal fragments of any type. Sun Ningxiang could not help but wonder in her heart. Could Sky City be related to the Moon Empress, Bamboo Monarch, and Cupboard Supreme, the 3 Class 5 Creation Masters? Only Class 5 Creation Masters would not care about the attributes of law crystals. All of a sudden, Sun Ningxiang's pupils shrank, and an unbelievable thought appeared in her mind. Could Sky City have such a large number of Creation Master resources and was restricted to the attributes of law crystal fragments? Was it because Sky City had a Class 5 Creation Master overseeing it? The Radiance Federation currently only had 3 Class 5 Creation Masters. However, after so many years of development, there would be one more Class 4 Creation Master every few years. No one could say if a Pinnacle Class 4 Creation Master would suddenly break through the boundary and reach the standard of a Class 5 Creation Master. Moreover, Sky City also needed a large number of law crystal. Could the Class 5 Creation Master in Sky City have found a way to extract the mixed power of law in the law crystal? At the thought of this, Sun Ningxiang hurriedly shook her head. She felt that her thoughts were too unrealistic. The 3 Class 5 Creation Masters had been famous for a long time, and even the 3 Class 5 Creation Masters could not do it. Even if Sky City had a Creation Master who had just broken through to become a Class 5 Creation Master, it would definitely not be able to do it. First update, seeking monthly votes, Chiou tomorrow, I will start writing about Evolved Genius and Little Black. Everyone can guess Genius evolved ability and name. End of this chapter. Chapter 671. Sun Ningxiang felt that she must have been under too much pressure during this period of time, causing her imagination to run wild. Sun Ningxiang coughed lightly, expelling all kinds of thoughts from her mind. Okay, no problem. I wonder how much Pinnacle Class 4 Creation Master resources Sky City can give to the Dew Immortal Garden? Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan scratched his head. He really couldn't explain it clearly in a short time. It was impossible for him to upgrade the phase in the Dew Immortal Garden every day without doing anything else. Therefore, he had carefully estimated the production capacity of the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone. Lin Yuan thought for a moment and said, "That's right. How about this? Sky City will only trade high-class Creation Master resources with the Dew Immortal Garden. When the time comes, the Dew Immortal Garden will bring over the phase that need to be enhanced and the phase that need pure spirit chi to evolve and mutate. As for the amount of strengthening, that will depend on fate." When Sun Ningxiang heard that it depended on fate, she suddenly felt that Lin Yuan was a little unreliable. However, Sun Ningxiang did not have any opinion on the cooperation of high-class Creation Masters. High-class Creation Masters were the most scarce resources in the Dew Immortal Garden. The 3 Pinnacle Creation Masters of the Dew Condensation Chamber of Commerce had all been killed by his grandmother. At the same time, she had also executed some of the Class 4 Creation Masters who had attached themselves to the 3 Pinnacle Class 4 Creation Masters. Most of the Class 3 and Class 2 Creation Masters were still inside the Dew Immortal Garden. Otherwise, the Dew Congealing Immortal Garden would have collapsed long ago. Sun Ningxiang observed Lin Yuan's expression and could clearly sense that he was thinking about something. Lin Yuan said, "That's right. If the Dew Immortal Garden requires a Legend Fae, our Sky City might be able to achieve it if we work hard. It's just that Law Crystal Shards can't be used to trade for Bronze Legend Faes. You have to exchange it with a complete set of Law Crystals." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Sun Ningxiang subconsciously thought that she had heard wrongly and could not help but ask, "You're talking about Bronze Legend Faes?" Lin Yuan replied with certainty. "If the Fae you bring over is enhanced to Bronze Legend during the cooperation, you will have to use a complete set of Law Crystals to exchange. The exchange rate is as follows, Myth 1 for 1 and Myth 2 for 3. Sun Ningxiang finally confirmed that she did not hear wrongly. Sun Ningxiang carefully pondered the meaning in Lin Yuan's words and felt that he did not seem to take the Bronze Legend Fae seriously at all. Bronze Legend Faes could be said to be treasured by any faction and symbolized a faction's foundation. Which force would be willing to trade such a thing? Sun Ningxiangfeng felt more and more that her wild imagination might not be fake after all. It was very likely that Sky City really had a Class 5 Creation Master overseeing it. The price that Lin Yuan had just given to Sun Ningxiang was not a random one. During this time, Lin Yuan had also carefully understood the specific prices of Bronze Epic and Bronze Legend Phase in the Radiance Federation through the information that Wen Yu had organized. Although the price he gave Sun Ningxiang seemed a bit excessive. However, the Radiance Federation's top factions had also traded Bronze Legend Phase before. The exchange price was 1 Bronze Legend Fae for a complete Myth I Law crystal. All of a sudden, Lin Yuan noticed that Sun Ningxiang's gaze toward him had changed. His eyes were filled with surprise and hope. Sun Ningxiang asked cautiously, "I wonder if you can help me upgrade the Bronze Epic Muscle Revitalizing Camellia to Legendary. If you can raise the Bronze Epic Muscle Revitalizing Camellia to Legend, I'm willing to exchange a Myth 3 Law crystal for it." When Lin Yuan heard that, he immediately knew that someone very important to Sun Ningxiang had suffered serious injuries. The Bronze Epic Muscle Revitalizing Camellia was no longer effective. Instead, he needed the legendary Muscle Revitalizing Camellia to treat his injuries. His muscles had probably already withered and decayed. The muscle regeneration camellia was a very special fey. The muscle-growing camellia was a dwarf herb when it was at bronze rank. After advancing to the silver level, the stalk of the muscle-growing camellia would lignify and grow into a tall woody plant. The muscle-revitalizing camellia didn't have to do with the tea leaves or the blooming camellia, but the rich gelatinous substance in the stem of the muscle-revitalizing camellia. Therefore, for the muscle-revitalizing camellia to be effective, it had to be bronze level. At that moment, Lin Yuan couldn't help but feel a little strange. Even if the muscle-revitalizing camellia was very rare, as a top faction, it was impossible for the Sun family to not have a pinnacle Class 4 creation master. Even if luck was needed to enhance a muscle-revitalizing camellia, a pinnacle Class 4 creation master would always succeed after working hard for 100 times and trying his luck. Lin Yuan thought to himself, "It seems that I really have to get you to investigate the Sun family's Dew Immortal Garden. I want to take a closer look at what kind of trouble the Sun family's Dew Immortal Garden had encountered." Lin Yuan didn't immediately agree to Sun Ningxiang's request. Instead, he said, "An ordinary muscle-revitalizing camellia isn't something rare. It's sold in the Star Web's Rare Lifeform Pavilion. If Sky City can produce a bronze legend muscle-revitalizing camellia, I'll inform you. Do you accept the method of using law crystals to exchange for a bronze legend muscle-revitalizing camellia?" Sun Ningxiang nodded in agreement. Compared to reaching a deal with Lin Yuan here, Sun Ningxiang's mind was full of thoughts on the muscle-revitalizing camellia. If she had a bronze legend muscle-revitalizing camellia, her grandmother would be able to hold on for a while longer. She might even be able to hold on for a full 2 years. During this period of time, Sun Ningxiang had thought of looking for other pinnacle Class 4 creation masters. However, there were only a few pinnacle Class 4 creation masters. Apart from the pinnacle Class 4 creation masters who had established their own factions, the remaining pinnacle Class 4 creation masters mostly belonged to different factions. Her grandmother's killing of the Dew Immortal Garden's 3 rebellious pinnacle Class 4 creation masters had incurred the wrath of many creation masters in the Federation. Under such circumstances, none of the pinnacle Class 4 creation masters were willing to help the Sun family. Now, Sun Ningxiang finally saw hope in Lin Yuan again. After reaching a deal with Sun Ningxiang, Lin Yuan left Star Web. After leaving Star Web and returning to reality, a willpower rune condensed in Lin Yuan's mind. The moment Lin Yuan exited Star Web, he finally completed the knowledge willpower rune's materialization. Lin Yuan waved his hand, and a blue willpower rune containing a sense of inclusiveness and vastness and a gold willpower rune containing wisdom and knowledge revolved around Lin Yuan's fingers. The second one was even more. End of this chapter. Chapter 672. Lin Yuan looked outside the window. At that moment, a gust of wind blew outside the window, bringing the flowers on the cinnabar sweet osmanthus tree under the window, and a colorful red rain fell on the ground. Looking at the scattered red on the ground, Lin Yuan murmured softly, "The Zheng family and the Miao family. It seems like the wind is really rising." In a luxurious mansion in the royal capital, 7 or 8 masked attendants in black were reporting to a fat old man who looked like a big meatball. "Butler Fu, one of us was sent by you to the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce to scout for information. He hasn't returned until noon today. Steward Fu, one of us was sent by you to the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce to scout for information. He hasn't returned since noon. Butler Fu, one of us was sent by you to the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce to scout for information. He hasn't returned until noon." The fat old man, who looked like a big meatball, was so angry that the fat on his body trembled when he heard the masked man's words. The fat old man said angrily, "You people can't do anything but spoil things. You people can't do anything but spoil things. I let you investigate for such a long time, but you don't have any clue what faction is supporting the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce, let alone figure out this faction's strength. How am I going to explain this to second young master when I return?" Upon hearing the old man's words, the attendant who had taken the lead was clearly angry. "Butler Fu, it's true that you're second young master's favorite, but our hidden investigation team is also the Zheng family's most outstanding scouting team. Butler Fu, You guaranteed that there were no Emperor-class experts in the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce, so the captain sent us. Otherwise, given our hidden investigation team's ability, we definitely wouldn't be discovered. Before Butler Fu, whose face was full of fats, could say anything, a strong and slightly weathered voice sounded. Is this an internal strife? Your Zheng family is wantonly investigating the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce that our young master supports. This is disrespectful to our young master. Wantonly killing people in the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce has violated our young master's taboo, so you should pay the same price as the person killed. When this strong voice echoed, a man wearing golden light armor and a strange mask appeared in the center of the room. The golden-armored man had a small purple snake coiled around his hand. The small snake had 6 colored heads. Although the blue head was still growing in the center, the size of the black head on the small snake's body was already vaguely comparable to the blue head. He didn't waste time talking to the Zheng family. He lowered his head and said to the purple demon on his wrist, "Violet demon, let's eat." As soon as he finished speaking, the room was filled with snake shadows. The snake flashed, and the 7 or 8 masked attendants and the fat old man entered the violet demon's stomach. It was as if they had never appeared. Before he left, he urged the spiritual power in his body to form a blade-like cyclone and wrote on the table in the room. The royal capital, the Zheng family's tomb. Ostrich Logistics was a faction supported by the Radiance officials, and the most basic thing was the ability to keep secrets. He had never heard of Ostrich Logistics leaking any information about the movement of resources between any forces and individuals. Lin Yuan had his own courier, Neng. Therefore, as long as there were orders related to Lin Yuan, Neng would be fully responsible for issuing and receiving them. He did not need to worry at all. Not long after, Neng had already delivered the drought sand boar of the Cyan half-armored woman who had just drawn the white card from the fate letter. After Neng delivered the package to Lin Yuan, she handed him a form with a face full of vigor. "Mr. Deep Mountain Elder Lin, Neng has been your personal courier for half a year. Ostrich Logistics conducts an assessment for private couriers every 6 months. Deep Mountain Elder Lin, please give Neng a score first." As she spoke, Neng took off the half-covered leather gloves she had been wearing. He took out an extremely tough card made of unknown leather and handed it to Lin Yuan. When Lin Yuan took the card from Neng, he could see the nervousness and anticipation in her eyes. The look in Neng's eyes made Lin Yuan involuntarily recall the time when he had been in the Xia Region's store, when he had seen Uncle Li's braised pork in the lunchbox. Lin Yuan took the card and saw that there weren't many topics on it. However, Ostrich Logistics was obviously very strict with the evaluation of private couriers. There were detailed star rating standards even before the topic was selected. Lin Yuan rated all of Neng's stars on the card as 5 stars. Then he handed the card to Neng. "I'm very satisfied with Neng's performance in the past 6 months. I'm very happy that Neng can become my exclusive courier." Neng's face was originally very nervous, but now that she had received such great recognition from Lin Yuan, she felt very happy. A pure smile appeared on Neng's face. Neng casually snapped her fingers, and 3 petite insect species fays were summoned. It danced around Neng's fingers. Neng waved at Lin Yuan. "Thank you, Mr. Deep Mountain Elder Lin, for his recognition of Neng. Neng will go back first. From now on, Neng will be in charge of Mr. Deep Mountain Elder Lin's safety. Neng's bullets will extinguish the enemy's pain." Neng was so happy that she snapped her fingers a few times. All of a sudden, there was a loud bang, and the insect species fay flying around Neng's finger shot out a beam of light. The beam of light directly penetrated the card in Neng's hand, leaving a hole on the card. Neng quickly hid the card behind her in embarrassment. She said shyly and awkwardly as she scratched her purplish-red hair with her other hand. Neng only occasionally misfires, and most misfires only happen when facing enemies. When Lin Yuan saw the fay that Neng had casually summoned, his pupils suddenly contracted. Lin Yuan remembered that when he had first met Neng in the Xia Region's store, her 2 fays had been a silver scattershot insect and a gold armor-piercing insect. Now, Neng's shotgun beetle and armor-piercing beetle had evolved into fantasy breeds. The silver shotgun bug had evolved into a gold fantasy breed light rain bullet bug. The gold armor-piercing beetle had evolved into a gold fantasy breed instant death beetle. There was also a bronze overload worm, which Neng had probably contracted not long ago. This was because the size of the overload worm showed that it had just passed its infancy stage. Back in the Xia region, Lin Yuan had been surprised by Neng's age and strength. Now, it seemed that in addition to Neng's amazing talent, his strength was even on par with Meng Shu, the main member of the barbarian snake club whom he had defeated previously. Lin Yuan finally knew why Neng was representing the Ostrich Guild, one of the Class A guild clubs, in the S tournament. If a spirit chi professional wanted to have luxurious phase when they were young, apart from their innate talents, they had to be extremely talented. They also needed resources. It seemed that Neng's identity in ostrich logistics was not simple. After sending Neng off, Lin Yuan took the Fey storage box that Neng had brought and entered the spirit lock spatial zone. The first one was even better. But wanted to ask everyone if they felt that Lin Yuan should be more decisive in killing. End of this chapter. Chapter 701. Lin Yuan was not a creation master in the traditional sense. However, Lin Yuan had been using his own abilities to do things that only creation masters could do. This made Lin Yuan the same as ordinary creation masters, who had a strong desire to explore unknown items. Not to mention an unknown sacred source lifeform. Alright, I'll follow you to the Celestial Council to take a look. Lin Yuan did not ask about the Celestial Body Council's other matters regarding sacred source lifeforms. In any case, when he arrived at the Celestial Council, Wen Yu would be able to give him a clear answer. Wen Yu stood up and said, "Young master, the Celestial Body Council needs to go through a ceremony before it can be held. This ceremony consumes a large amount of psychic spirit materials. Therefore, before the ceremony, we need to prepare the psychic spirit materials needed for the ceremony." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan revealed a smile on his face. "That's easy. Someone will send us the psychic spirit materials soon." When Lin Yuan handed over the 100 bronze flawless angelfish of bliss to the blissful sea tribe, which had been enhanced from bronze flawless to epic during the gestation period, the blissful sea tribe was shocked. The blissful sea tribe generously expressed its gratitude for Lin Yuan's quick Fey enhancement and gave him a batch of high-quality fish coats to express its gratitude. Lin Yuan wasn't very interested in this batch of fish coats. In his opinion, the fish coats of the angelfish of bliss that the Sea of Bliss bred by the Sea of Bliss would never be better than the fish coats of the angelfish of bliss that he would rear in the hidden Wm lake. After all, he could guarantee that every bronze angelfish of bliss in the hidden Wm lake would reach epic quality. But now, it seemed that the fish coat that the Sea of Bliss had sent had helped him a lot. Otherwise, he would not know where to find the sacred source lifeforms and the spiritual type spiritual ingredients needed for the Celestial Council's ritual. Just as Wen Yu was curious about the spiritual type spiritual ingredients that Lin Yuan had mentioned, Lin Yuan's exclusive courier, Neng, had arrived at the mansion's entrance. This time, Neng held a total of 10 platinum Fey storage boxes. After receiving the goods from Neng, Lin Yuan and Wen Yu brought the 10 platinum Fey storage boxes into the mansion. Lin Yuan took out 200 complete rainbow fish armors from a Fey storage box. These fish coats had all been removed from adult supreme grade angelfish of bliss. As soon as he took it out, he felt the spiritual energy contained in it. Wen Yu said as she sensed the spiritual energy in the fish cloaks, "Young master, the ceremony before the Celestial Council holds will require about 50 of these fish suits. The pre-ceremony will take half an hour. I'll go to the training room to communicate with the celestial bodies. Young master, please come directly to the training room in half an hour." Lin Yuan nodded. "I'll check the angelfish of bliss in the other spirit storage boxes. Wen Yu, if you have time, apart from managing Sky City's private territory, investigate the movements of the Blissful Ocean Clan and the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden." Wen Yu was just about to agree when Lin Yuan spoke again. "While you're at it, organize the Sun family's due Immortal Garden specific information and see if there are any important members of the Sun family who have large amounts of rotten flesh." Wen Yu nodded with a smile. "Young master, leave it to me. Master, Lord Mystic Moon has already raised my contracted source paper to the peak of the gold level. I can organize the information much faster than before. I'll be able to organize the information you need within 3 days. After saying that, when you stored the 50 fish suits on the ground into the lotus bracelet-shaped diamond fey storage box on her wrist and prepared to go to the breeding room for the pre-ceremony before the Celestial Council. After when you left, Lin Yuan poured a cup of 3 treasures tea from the teapot. After drinking the 3 treasures tea to lift his spirits, Lin Yuan started to check the 100 platinum angelfish of bliss that the Blissful Ocean clan had sent. The bronze supreme grade angelfish of bliss was only the size of half of Lin Yuan's palm. Even if the angelfish of bliss reached platinum, it would still only be the size of half of Lin Yuan's arm. The platinum angelfish of bliss was slightly smaller than the spirit siphon goldfish that had awakened the dragon species bloodline. However, it had to be said that the platinum angelfish of bliss was definitely worthy of the name blissful immortal. The fish spread its wings and swam like an immortal crane that was glowing with sunlight. The fish folded its wings and swayed its tail, making it look like a celestial maiden in a rainbow dress. It was very beautiful. However, when Lin Yuan saw the color of the scales on the 100 angelfish of bliss, he frowned slightly. More than half of the 100 platinum angelfish of bliss were glowing with 5-colored radiance, while a small portion were glowing with 4-colored radiance. After Lin Yuan checked all of the 100 angelfish of bliss, he realized that none of them had 7-colored scales. This also meant that these angelfish of bliss were all high-quality and mid-quality adult platinum angelfish of bliss. Lin Yuan let out a cold laugh. When he had traded with the Blissful Ocean clan, he hadn't said that he would let the Blissful Ocean clan use the supreme-grade adult angelfish of bliss for the trade. He had only said that it would depend on the Blissful Ocean clan's sincerity. Now, Lin Yuan had seen the Blissful Ocean clan's sincerity. Now, Lin Yuan finally knew why the Blissful Ocean clan had sent so many fish suits that were mostly glowing with 6-colored, while a few were glowing with 7-colored. The Blissful Ocean clan had sent so many high-quality fish suits to cover up Lin Yuan's mouth. Originally, Lin Yuan thought that Gao Feng wanted to mess with the Blissful Ocean clan, and he was merely kicked out of the Blissful Ocean clan's private territory. Wasn't it a little too ruthless for him to plot against the entire Blissful Ocean clan and cause the entire Blissful Ocean clan to fail? However, the Blissful Ocean clan's shameless actions made Lin Yuan feel that his actions weren't ruthless at all. Although these 100 adult platinum angelfish of bliss weren't supreme grade, Lin Yuan still planned to rear them in the hidden WM lake. The hidden WM lake was so huge, but the platinum angelfish of bliss were so small. Even if he were to rear these 100 angelfish of bliss that weren't supreme grade, it wouldn't consume a lot of space. Furthermore, when you would need to consume 50 sets of fish suits every week. When an angelfish of bliss reached adulthood, no matter how well they were reared, they would need to take off their fish suits once a month. This meant that if Lin Yuan wanted to satisfy Wenyu's consumption of 50 sets of fish suits every week, which was over 200 sets of fish suits a month, he would need over 200 angelfish of bliss. This was not a small burden for the manor at the moment. After all, the mansion's free laborer, Master Duan Li, could only concoct 300 sets of platinum water potions in 2 months. This would allow 300 angelfish of bliss to reach platinum and become adults. It could be said that the 200 sets of fish suits that the Blissful Ocean clan had sent to seal Lin Yuan's mouth had really solved Lin Yuan's urgent problem. The second one was even better. End of this chapter. Chapter 702. Even if the Sea of Bliss had the intention of using the fish coat to offset the low grade of the angelfish of bliss, it would be the same as exchanging a consumable resource for a sustainable resource. However, this behavior was equivalent to exchanging consumable resources for sustainable resources. It was the same as exchanging fish for a fishing rod. Lin Yuan took a huge basin and poured a lot of water into it. He then placed his hand in the basin and circulated his spiritual power, purifying the spiritual power in the world before channeling it into the water. This process lasted for 10 minutes before Lin Yuan stopped. He took out the high-grade angelfish of bliss with colorful scales from the platinum fey storage box and placed them in the basin. Even though these high-grade angelfish of bliss had grown into adults, They had been in the Fey storage box during the transportation process and had started to look sickly. If Lin Yuan hadn't channeled pure spirit qi into the basin for 10 minutes, these angelfish of bliss would have sunk to the bottom of the basin and wouldn't want to swim anymore. These angelfish of bliss, which had become a little withered during the transportation process, came into contact with the spirit qi water. Furthermore, they were affected by the 3 Mountain River Eternal Life Carp's exclusive skill, Place of Life, and they immediately became lively. Lin Yuan used his hand to circulate spiritual power and placed his palm on these platinum angelfish of bliss to conduct a detailed examination. The angelfish of bliss were separated into males and females, and the first 2 males were considered normal. However, when he examined the 3rd female fish, Lin Yuan's face suddenly darkened. When the Sea of Bliss had traded for the supreme-grade angelfish of bliss, they had actually destroyed the reproductive organs of the adult angelfish of bliss. This caused the female angelfish of bliss in Lin Yuan's hands to no longer be able to spawn during the flood season. Lin Yuan's face darkened as he split the 100 adult angelfish of bliss into 20 batches and examined them one by one. He then discovered that apart from the 30 males, 70 of the females had their reproductive organs destroyed. Lin Yuan was so angry that he laughed. Since the Sea of Bliss had schemed against him and tampered with his transaction, it seemed like he couldn't just use the gentle method of monopolizing the aurora pollen to deal with the Sea of Bliss. He had to add some other information to the Sea of Bliss. After examining the 100 adult platinum angelfish of bliss, Lin Yuan used about 15 minutes. However, it wasn't a solution to keep them in the Fey storage box. These delicate angelfish of bliss might have died while being locked in the Fey storage box. He took the 10 platinum Fey storage boxes and jogged all the way to the hidden WOM lake, which was being expanded. The water in the hidden WOM lake came from an underground spring, so no matter how big the hidden WOM lake was, there was no need to worry about not having enough water. Moreover, the water in the spring would circulate through the rock walls beside the lake. Even though the hidden dragon lake was under construction, the water was still very clear. Under the watchful eyes of Hu Quan and the 200 Class 3 spirit craftsmen, Lin Yuan poured 100 adult platinum angelfish of bliss from 10 platinum Fey storage boxes into the hidden flood dragon lake. 100 angelfish of bliss entered the hidden dragon lake, and Blackie immediately found a playmate. He chased after this fish for a while, then another, and even used his tail to stir up waves and toss the angelfish of bliss out of the water. Just like an annoying naughty child. However, Lin Yuan knew that Blackie had a sense of propriety, so he didn't bother about it. With the Mountain River Eternal Life Carp's exclusive skill, Place of Life, even if the 100 angelfish of bliss lacked spirit qi, the production of fish coats would slow down. However, he would not die like in the Fey storage box. Under the dumbfounded gazes of Hu Quan and the 200 spirit craftsmen, Lin Yuan greeted Hu Quan and ran back into the mansion. He hurried upstairs to the training room. At that moment, a Class 3 spirit craftsman trotted to Hu Quan's side and asked respectfully, "Master Hu Quan, is the person who just came the young master?" "That's 100 adult angelfish of bliss." Before the Class 3 spirit craftsman could finish speaking, he saw Hu Quan looking at him with a faint smile. Subsequently, the 3-star spirit craftsman was slapped on the neck by Hu Quan and cursed. "That's my young master. Do you think you're worthy of being called young master? Or do you think that you're the only knowledgeable one here, and that others can't recognize that it's an angelfish of bliss? Work hard and try to finish the construction of the hidden dragon lake in half a month. It's not in vain for the young master to gather all the materials needed for the hidden dragon lake in one day." The Class 3 spirit craftsman, who had been slapped on the neck by Hu Quan, was not angry. Instead, he was abnormally happy. Looking at the other 199 Class 3 spirit craftsmen, Liu Tong felt that the other Class 3 spirit craftsmen were simply fools. There would only be more and more Class 3 spirit craftsmen in the Heavenly Craft Pavilion in the future, so many that even Master Hu Quan would not be able to remember them. If he could be slapped twice a day by Master Hu Quan, it would be considered as leaving an impression on him. At the very least, he would not be unaware of his existence in the end. Anyway, when it came to diligence and loyalty, he would not lose to anyone. Sooner or later, He would be valued by Master Hu Quan and might even be chosen by the young master to serve the young master directly. Lin Yuan arrived at the training room's door. Before he pushed it open, he felt the majestic spiritual energy inside. After pushing the door open, Lin Yuan saw the 50 rainbow-colored fish robes burning with rainbow-colored flames. A rainbow-colored door that led to an unknown place was interwoven in the air. What Lin Yuan, who was in the training room, did not know was that the moment the rainbow-colored door emitted light. Even at noon, when the sun was high in the sky, all the stars in the sky twinkled in that instant. However, under the light of the radiant sun, the bright starlight appeared very inconspicuous. Lin Yuan asked Wen Yu, "Are we going to step through this door?" Wen Yu shook her head and said, "Young master, this door is the Celestial Council's material exchange portal. It's just that the exchange of materials in the Celestial Council requires the consumption of willpower and rules as a medium, so it can't be used easily. Young master, if we want to enter the Celestial Body Council, all we need to do is sleep beside this door." After she said that, Lin Yuan saw that she had placed 2 chairs beside the 7-colored door. Lin Yuan walked over and sat on the chair. "That's great. I'm so sleepy after not sleeping for 6 days." After saying that, Lin Yuan closed his eyes and rested on the chair. Soon, he started to snore. Wen Yu looked at Lin Yuan. Even though this was the first time she had used the sacred source life form, the celestial body assembly, she relaxed. The moment Wen Yu sat on the chair and fell asleep, 2 figures suddenly appeared in a hall with a vast starry sky as the background. However, when Wen Yu saw the figure beside her, she was so dumbfounded that her eyeballs almost fell to the ground. This was because Wen Yu found that this figure was woven from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 willpower. Moreover, these 8 willpower weaved into the figure, and for some reason, it was filled with countless laws. The third one, end of this chapter. Chapter 703. As the owner of the sacred source life form, there was probably no one in this world who understood the Celestial Council better than Wen Yu. The most basic requirement to invite a spirit chi professional into the Celestial Council through a ritual in reality was that the spirit chi professional had to be able to comprehend a willpower rune. For those who could not comprehend a willpower rune, even if Wen Yu was the owner of the Celestial Council, there was no way to force them into the Celestial Council. Seeing that Lin Yuan's body in the Celestial Council was weaved by 8 wills, it meant that he had comprehended a total of 8 willpower runes. Wen Yu, who had always been by Lin Yuan's side as his right-hand man, could not help but feel that the current situation was too unbelievable. Wen Yu had always thought that Lin Yuan had comprehended about 4 willpower runes at most. She did not expect that Lin Yuan had comprehended more than twice as many willpower runes. She had not used this opportunity to enter the Celestial Council and coincidentally found out that Lin Yuan had comprehended 8 willpower runes according to the Celestial Council's rules. Given Lin Yuan's low profile, he would not have shown it at all. However, when you could not understand what was going on with the countless law powers in Lin Yuan's body weaved by 8 wills. Law powers represented myth breed phase. After knowing that Lin Yuan had comprehended 8 willpower runes, even if Lin Yuan's Fei had really reached the level of a myth breed, Wen Yu would only feel shocked. She would not find it unbelievable. However, even if Lin Yuan really had a myth breed Fei, he should not have so many different law powers. Moreover, these law powers were very strange. A few of them were obviously much more powerful. It was like a gorgeous huge bouquet in the center of a garden. There were some inconspicuous rules around the bouquet that looked like tiny flowers, decorating the scenery around the bouquet. The remaining more detailed laws were just a background board in a corner of the garden. However, no matter how weak the nomological power that was used as a backdrop was, it was ultimately a power that only myth breed phase could control. While Wen Yu was shocked, Lin Yuan was also sizing up the surrounding environment. He saw that there were 12 golden thrones in front of the hall with the vast starry sky as the background. The back of each of the 12 huge golden thrones was engraved with a complex totem. However, these 12 thrones were currently dim, as though they were waiting for someone to sit on them. He asked the throne to open the seal and reveal its original appearance. He recalled the sacred source lifeform celestial body assembly's true data and knew that these 12 golden chairs should be the 12 ecliptic constellation thrones mentioned in the celestial body assembly's functional astral soul chair. Below the 12 golden thrones, there were 66 bronze thrones. These 66 chairs were also carved with complicated totems. It was just that the aura of these totems were far weaker than the totems on the 12 ecliptic palaces constellation thrones. These 66 seats must be the northern and southern constellation seats mentioned in the Celestial Body Council's functional astral soul chair. However, even if he knew what these seats were, he still did not know their functions. He needed to get Wen Yu to answer him later. When he looked at Wen Yu beside him, he found that she was no longer corporeal. Instead, it was a body condensed from a will that bore and recorded. When he sensed the willpower that made up Wen Yu's body, he knew that this willpower should be the willpower that had fused with the elemental source-type source paper when it had evolved into a fantasy breed. He looked down at his own situation again. Based on the true data he had seen before, he had almost figured out the mechanism of entering the Celestial Council. It seemed that entering the Celestial Council was not only related to one's comprehension of willpower, but also to one's soul. A sacred source lifeform could form a contract with a spirit chi professional, regardless of whether it was a normal contract or a marrow contract. Sacred source lifeforms would reside in the depths of a spirit chi professional's soul and fuse with it. Lin Yuan was actually able to carry the laws absorbed by the princess's skirt in the Celestial Council. This meant that apart from his will, his soul had also entered the sacred source lifeform, the Celestial Body Council. Lin Yuan asked, "When you mentioned that the exchange of materials in the Celestial Council requires the consumption of rules and will as a medium. What's going on?" After saying that, Lin Yuan urged all the laws engraved in his body on the princess's dress. The power of dozens of laws surged out of Lin Yuan's body. The power of the rules intersected and even faintly formed a desolate world that one could not help but immerse in. Lin Yuan spoke again after activating his nomological power. "If necessary, I have a lot of rule-bending power here that I can use." Wen Yu felt that she could not see Lin Yuan clearly anymore. Lin Yuan, who was urging dozens of laws in front of her, was like a god in her heart. Wen Yu recovered from her shock and hurriedly said, "Young master, this is also my first time hosting a Celestial Body Conference. We've only entered the venue of the Celestial Parliament. The Celestial Parliament hasn't officially started yet. Young master, we will only consume our willpower and rules when we use the astral throne. Energy transmission consumes willpower, and physical transmission consumes laws. I only have one willpower rune here. If I use it, I won't be able to enter the sacred source lifeform celestial body assembly. Willpower and rules are of great importance. When the time comes, young master must weigh the pros and cons before deciding whether to consume it or not." Wen Yu's words were very straightforward. With Wen Yu's current willpower, she was unable to use the Celestial Council's Celestial Soul Chair. Fortunately, as long as one member of the council paid the price, the astral exchange could be used. Lin Yuan, who had mastered so many laws and willpower, could freely use the Star Spirit Throne. It was just that using the Star Spirit Throne would consume his willpower and laws, which was of great importance. Wen Yu still had to explain the seriousness of the problem to him. When Lin Yuan heard her words, he still felt that he didn't quite understand. Currently, he and Wen Yu were the only two people in the Celestial Council. What was the point of using the Celestial Council's sacred source lifeform and Celestial Spirit Throne? At that moment, Wen Yu said, "That's right. Young master, when I first completed the marrow contract with the Celestial Body Council, I could only control one of the 12 main zodiac constellations. One way to raise the Celestial Body Assembly star rank is to consume spiritual-type spiritual materials to feed the Celestial Body Assembly, which is the cat's eye stone on my forehead. Another way," when you looked at Lin Yuan and did not continue speaking. The first one was even worse. End of chapter. Chapter 704. Lin Yuan could not understand why Wen Yu had only said half of what she wanted to say. However, Lin Yuan continued with the first half of Wen Yu's sentence. "While you were away from the mansion, I decided to expand the hidden dragon lake in the mansion. Since the Celestial Council requires spiritual ingredients, we can rear thousands of angelfish of bliss in the hidden dragon lake in the future. There will be plenty of fish coats for the Celestial Council to absorb. When you hurriedly changed the topic. Young Master, Master Black Moon has raised the Celestial Council's star class to 1 star. I can control one of the 12 ecliptic constellations' thrones. After saying that, when you walked up to a golden throne with a complex scale totem on the back of the chair, she directly injected a strand of her will into the throne with the 12 main zodiac constellations engraved with the scale pattern. Following that, the 12 ecliptic constellation thrones engraved with scales changed from their original dusty appearance. They revealed a faint light. This layer of light was like the vast starlight that descended from the stars. In the blink of an eye, the starlight became even more resplendent and rushed into the vast starry sky. Under the guidance of the vast starlight, a huge constellation formed by the stars suddenly appeared in the vast starry sky. The moment the constellation appeared, the scale totem on the back of the throne separated from the throne. In the end, the scale totem simplified into a simple pattern that was imprinted on Wen Yu's neck. Wen Yu said to Lin Yuan, "Young Master, Mystic Realm sacred source lifeforms are different from ordinary sacred source lifeforms. The owner of the Mystic Realm sacred source lifeform is only the owner of the Mystic Realm. He does not have absolute control over the Council. The 12 ecliptic constellations' thrones divide up everything in the Council. My scale throne symbolizes balance, and I am responsible for maintaining the Celestial Council's stability. Right now, there's still one of the 12 constellation thrones that can be contracted. Young Master, you can also choose one of the remaining 11 constellation thrones to contract." Lin Yuan roughly understood the role of the 12 ecliptic constellations thrones in the Celestial Council. Even if one was not the Celestial Council's owner, it was equivalent to forming a contract with one of the 12 ecliptic constellations thrones. Although it seemed that the contract with the throne of the 12 ecliptic signs seemed to divide the rights of the Celestial Council contractor. However, this also required Wen Yu's approval. After all, in order to sit on the throne of the 12 ecliptic palaces, one needed to obtain Wen Yu's approval. He understood that Wen Yu's actions were akin to sharing the sacred source lifeform with him. Lin Yuan took a deep look at her and did not refuse. Instead, he asked Wen Yu, "These 12 main ecliptic constellation thrones, the Libra constellation represents balance and has been contracted by you. As for the remaining 11 main ecliptic constellation thrones, I do not understand. Which one do you think I should contract with?" Speaking of constellations, Lin Yuan was no stranger. In his previous life, many people were obsessed with horoscopes and thought that they could change one's luck. However, Lin Yuan did not know much about these things. However, in his previous life, he had been born in the Virgo constellation, so he had been despised by others due to his horoscope, and his reputation had been ruined. At this moment, he was unwilling to contract the Virgo throne of the 12 ecliptic primary constellation thrones. Upon hearing that, Wen Yu explained, "The Aries throne symbolizes a new beginning, the Taurus throne symbolizes power, the Gemini throne symbolizes wisdom, the Cancer throne symbolizes strength, the Leo throne symbolizes authority, the Virgo throne symbolizes beauty, the Scorpio throne symbolizes mystery, the Sagittarius throne symbolizes frankness, the Capricorn throne symbolizes tenacity, the Aquarius throne symbolizes rebellion, and the Pisces throne symbolizes complexity. I have contracted the Libra throne that symbolizes balance. In order to maintain the balance of the Celestial Council during the Celestial Council meeting, I have the authority to propose to kick out those who disrupt the Council's balance. When the time comes, the other 12 ecliptic signs will vote. If half of the votes are passed, it can be carried out. I feel that among the remaining 11 ecliptic primary constellation thrones, Young Master can contract the Leo throne. The Leo throne symbolizes authority. Those who contract the Leo throne have the right to vote against any proposal during the meeting." Speaking up to this point, Wen Yu suddenly revealed a resolute smile. After signing the sacred source lifeform with the Celestial Council, Wen Yu could already communicate with the Celestial Council in the depths of her soul. The first thing the Celestial Council said to Wen Yu was that she had to vacate the throne of Leo constellation, or simply take the throne of Leo constellation herself. This was because the Leo throne symbolized authority and was more like the host of the meeting. However, after knowing the function of the Leo throne, when you had already thought of leaving the Leo throne, which represented authority, to Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan walked to the golden throne with the lion totem carved on it and placed his hand on the back of the throne. When Lin Yuan injected his will into the Leo throne, a huge lion-shaped constellation formed by stars appeared in the Celestial Council's vast background. As soon as this huge Leo constellation appeared in the sky, it immediately resonated with the totem on the Leo throne. Immediately after, the complicated lion totem turned simple and turned into a lion tail pattern that was imprinted on Lin Yuan's wrist. At that moment, Lin Yuan was considered to have officially integrated into the Celestial Council. He had become an existence with absolute authority in the council. After contracting the Leo throne, Lin Yuan did not need Wen Yu to explain to know the relationship between the Celestial Council's 12 ecliptic constellation thrones and the northern and southern constellation thrones. When using the Celestial Council's function, the astral spirit throne, the people on the 12 ecliptic constellation thrones could give energy and materials to the people on the northern and southern constellation thrones. This consumed willpower and laws. The people on the northern and southern constellation thrones could not take the initiative to exchange energy and resources with the people on the 12 ecliptic constellation thrones. However, they could issue an oath with willpower. This made Lin Yuan a little speechless. He felt that the Celestial Council was like a huge server. Lin Yuan and Wen Yu played the role of the system in the server. It was like the so-called golden fingers of the main characters in fantasy novels in his previous life. They could use energy or materials to make the people on the northern and southern constellation thrones issue an oath to do things for them. However, in Lin Yuan's opinion, the interaction was not equal. The second was even worse. End of this chapter. Chapter 705. If not for the Sacred Source Lifeform's sacred sword-embracing queen function, Princess Luo Kun, he would have been able to absorb willpower from fantasy breed phase. By absorbing laws from myth breed law crystals, he could afford the exchange of willpower and laws at the cost of material interaction. If it were anyone else, they would not be willing to exchange resources with willpower and laws that they had comprehended with great difficulty. However, Lin Yuan did not know why Wen Yu, the organizer of the Celestial Council, wanted to hold the Celestial Council. What kind of people would appear on the north-south constellation seats? Lin Yuan asked Wen Yu. When you officially held the Celestial Body Conference, how were these people chosen for the 66 seats of the southern and southern constellations? Upon hearing that, Wen Yu felt a little embarrassed. Young Master, the 12 constellation thrones are based on the Celestial Council's star system, but the number of people on the 66 north-south constellation seats is determined by my spiritual energy. Given my current spiritual energy, I can only light up 2 of the north-south constellation seats. This means that when the Celestial Council is held, there will be 2 more people besides me and Young Master. Wen Yu's words made Lin Yuan nod in understanding. At that moment, Wen Yu spoke again. I can't choose the people on the north-south constellation seats of the Celestial Council, but the screening conditions are very strict and can even be said to be a little harsh. Those who can sit on the north-south constellation seats are all people who are willing to exchange everything for something, including power, health, wealth, and even revenge. And these people who are willing to exchange everything for something will only be pulled into the Celestial Council by the 66 north-south constellations when they fall asleep. Upon hearing her words, Lin Yuan nodded in understanding. However, the more he listened to Wen Yu's explanation, the more he felt that these people who were willing to exchange everything for specific things were like the so-called protagonists he had seen in his previous life. They had a goal, dared to give up, and the Celestial Council was similar to a system. Wasn't this the template of a proper protagonist? This made Lin Yuan feel like he was nurturing a protagonist. After explaining clearly to Lin Yuan, Wen Yu sighed softly. Young Master, Teacher Mystic Moon said that my spiritual energy talent is not high. I don't know when I can unlock more of the north-south constellation seats. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan gently tapped his fingers on the armrest of the Leo throne. Wen Yu, given your current spiritual energy, how many more phase can you contract? Wen Yu replied. The source paper that young master gave me and the earth surge golden lotus that the moon empress gave me are source-type lifeforms. They are not real phase. Therefore, I only have one sunlight egret. If I contract another one, it shouldn't be a problem for me to contract 3 more phase. Even if I form a contract with a fae, I don't know when I will be able to comprehend another willpower rune. At that point, she recalled that Lin Yuan had comprehended a total of 8 willpower runes. Wen Yu was not jealous of Lin Yuan, but she knew how difficult it was to comprehend willpower runes. She could not help but be shocked by Lin Yuan's talent again. Upon hearing her words, Lin Yuan could not help but secretly calculate in his heart. He planned to take note of a spiritual type fae that was more suitable for Wen Yu's contract. However, Wen Yu's affinity was with heron species faes among the flying species faes. Although there were many powerful heron species faes, they were not very suitable for a talent like Wen Yu's current fae system. It seemed that he still needed to work on long-term memory or source-type items to find a fae for Wen Yu. Lin Yuan now had a lot of source-type items. In the early days, Lin Yuan would check the source-type items he received and put them in brocade boxes. However, ever since he had the legend elemental shellfish to produce Heavenly Maiden-grade elemental pearls in batches in the Spirit Lock spatial zone, he had collected more and more source-type items. As a result, Lin Yuan did not spend much effort to check the contract conditions and abilities of the source-type items in his hands. Lin Yuan planned to put all the source-type items in his hands into the Spirit Lock spatial zone after the Celestial Council ended. He would let Genius, which had evolved into the Internet Beast, record the contract conditions and abilities of each source-type item. When the time came, Lin Yuan only needed to tell Genius what source-type item he wanted to find, and Genius would be able to find it. When you looked at Lin Yuan, whose hair was faintly dyed golden by the starlight, and said, "Young master, the Celestial Council's northern and southern sky constellation seats are very uncertain. Young master, due to the high uncertainty of the people pulled over from the Celestial Council's north-south constellation seats, there might be all kinds of existences. They might even come from a remote continent or a federation that I've never heard of. If young master feels it's inappropriate, I'll use the authority of the Libra constellation to kick them out. If young master feels it's okay, we can preside over the people pulled over by the north-south constellation seats and let them contract with them. Of course, even if these people contract the north-south constellation seats, if young master is not satisfied, we can also vote to kick them out of the contracted seats." Lin Yuan straightened his back upon hearing that. For some reason, he felt a little excited in his heart. Especially after hearing what Wen Yu said, the people who appeared on the north-south constellation seats might come from all kinds of places. This naturally included the continents outside the Radiance Federation. The ethereal Gelfish's exclusive skill, Space Tunnel, had yet to connect with the Divine Wood Federation in the Argawen continent. Lin Yuan had never been to the world outside the Radiance Federation. However, he could now contact people outside the Radiance Federation in this way and even touch the continents other than the Argawen continent where the Divine Wood Federation was located. Lin Yuan could not help but wonder if he could be like the real system. He could deliver resources to the people who appeared on the north-south constellation seats and let sky castles blossom in the corners of other continents. Lin Yuan whispered to Wen Yu, "Wen Yu, you've been here for a while. Wen Yu has been here for a while. Let's start the celestial body meeting." Upon hearing that, Wen Yu sat on the Libra throne with a solemn expression and began to sing softly. Wen Yu's singing caused the main constellations of Libra and Leo to remain the same in the starry sky background. The other stars quickly rotated, forming one north-south constellation after another. These north-south constellations included Andromeda, Centaurus, Perseus, Delphinus, Ursa Minor, Swordfish. However, because the north-south constellation seats had not been unsealed, the north-south constellations that appeared in the sky were dim. Suddenly, the 2 north-south constellations, Andromeda and Perseus, lit up with a faint light, guiding 2 wills into the Celestial Council. Upon seeing this, Lin Yuan turned to look at Wen Yu with some confusion. Wen Yu explained softly, "Every seat in the northern and southern sky constellations represents a type of character. This time, the The two wills that were drawn over are more compatible with the characters of Andromeda and Hercules constellations. That's why he was drawn to Andromeda constellation and Hercules constellation. He saw two figures intertwined with their willpower land in front of Andromeda's seat. A figure condensed from a sharp shadow will landed in front of Hercules constellation's seat. The third one. End of chapter. Chapter 706. Originally, Beishu was waiting for death amidst the bone-chilling cold and the pain of his body. When he was struck in the back by the cave shadow panther's wind blade, the piercing pain and the faint cracking sound told Beishu that his spine had probably cracked from that attack. Beishu had been mining in the mines since he was young, so he had suffered countless injuries. Therefore, after Beishu was hit in the back, he judged his injury and knew that he would not survive. The struggle after that was just a subconscious yearning for life. However, just as his consciousness was about to dissipate, Beishu suddenly realized that he had appeared in a world filled with dazzling stars. Beishu had heard a legend since he was young. The stony continent wasn't just an underground world. The truly powerful and wealthy people of the stony continent would live in the oasis at the center of the continent. The oasis at the center of the stony continent didn't have astral winds that could easily peel flesh from bones, nor did it have temperatures of 50 to 60 degrees Celsius during the day and -30 degrees Celsius at night. There was a federation in that oasis called the Richlush Federation. It was said that the people living in the Richlush Federation could see stars when they looked up at night. Beishu had only heard of this legend from his mother when he was young. But because he was overburdened by mining every day, Beishu didn't have the time to yearn for the Richlush Federation or the stars on the surface. But now, not only could Beishu see the stars, but he was also among them. Beishu couldn't help but have a thought. Is this the world after death? As soon as this thought appeared, Beishu noticed a figure next to him. The silhouette formed from willpower stared blankly at him and uttered a silly sentence in a lark-like voice. I can see colors now. After Yin Lin finished a sumptuous dinner with her parents, she was pushed around the garden by her maid, Cece. Yin Lin, who couldn't see, sat in a wheelchair most of the time. Walking around the garden had become Yin Lin's favorite thing to do, apart from reading. She could smell the flowers in the garden and listen to Cece tell her about them. This allowed Yin Lin to better perceive the world through her sense of smell. While smelling the fragrance of the iris flower, Yin Lin couldn't help but think that if she could see the world, she would be willing to exchange everything she had for it. Perhaps it was because they had been strolling in the garden for a long time, but a few gusts of wind made Yin Lin feel sleepy. Unknowingly, Yin Lin fell into a light sleep just like that. The instant she fell asleep, Yin Lin discovered that she had actually arrived in the middle of the stars. Yin Lin's world, which was supposed to be dark, suddenly became bright with stars. Beside him was a bronze chair, surrounded by glittering stars. There were two huge constellations in the sky, and beside him was a human figure formed by a will. Moreover, Yin Lin could clearly see the man and woman sitting on the golden seats with starlight enveloping their bodies like gods. Yin Lin also had dreams, but her dreams were always filled with sounds, smells, and strange shapes. It was a world without color or light. Yin Lin, who had never seen the world with her eyes, did not have the concept of color with just her imagination. But now, Yin Lin clearly knew that she could see colors. This made Yin Lin firmly believe that everything in front of her was not a dream, but reality. Lin Yuan, who was sitting on Leo's throne, raised his brows and looked at Yin Lin, whose body was formed by two strands of spirit willpower, in front of Andromeda. He nodded inwardly. The moment Yin Lin entered the Celestial Council, she was able to determine that the world in front of her was real through the difference between the world of the Celestial Council and reality. Even if it was due to her blindness, Lin Yuan still had to marvel at Yin Lin's amazing mental fortitude. On the other hand, the figure called Beishu, who was formed by the sharp will of the shadow blade next to Yin Lin, was so silly that he thought he had entered the world after death. After Beishu and Yin Lin were guided to the Celestial Council, Lin Yuan realized that he, who was sitting on the throne of the 12 ecliptic constellations, was really like the system in fantasy. He could faintly feel the basic information carried by Beishu and Yin Lin's will. He got to know Beishu and Yin Lin's names, as well as part of their lives. At that moment, when Yu, who was beside Lin Yuan, narrowed her eyes and said to Lin Yuan. This person named Bei Shu's life in reality is about to dissipate, so his will is about to disappear from the Celestial Council. Although the Celestial Council was different from the real world, the body that entered the Celestial Council was composed of will and soul. The body in the real world was the carrier of the soul and will. If the body died, then the will and soul would also dissipate from the world. Upon hearing Wen Yu's words, Lin Yuan frowned tightly. Just now, when Bei Shu and Yin Lin were in shock, Lin Yuan had roughly seen the first half of their lives through their will. Lin Yuan had roughly seen the first half of Bei Shu's and Yin Lin's lives through their wills. It was like watching two completely different movies. Although she could not see, Yin Lin's life was happier than most people's. Bei Shu's life had been endless repetition. Apart from being sick and unable to move, it was all mining day after day. On the other hand, Bei Shu's entire life had been repeating itself endlessly. Other than being unable to move due to illness, he spent all his time mining and working day after day. The survival rule of the underground world's mines was that everyone had to use all their strength to dig the most ores. The rule of survival in the underground world's mines was that everyone had to use all their strength to dig as many ores as possible. Because Bei Shu was one of the people with the best physical fitness in the mine, he was usually given the most food. Bei Shu dividing the food that belonged to him without permission was equivalent to reducing the amount of work he had to do the next day. He had destroyed the interests of the mine owner. Through Bei Shu's will, Lin Yuan was like God, faintly peeking at a corner of the underground world called Cave Continent. It could be said that the Cave Continent's barrenness was far beyond his imagination. The Cave Continent's Spirit Chi professionals did not pursue high-quality bronze phase like the Radiance Federation's Spirit Chi professionals. For ordinary Spirit Chi professionals on the Cave Continent, it was a great thing as long as they had a Fei to contract. They did not have the qualifications to be picky about the Fei's potential and quality. This was because it was very difficult for people to find traces of Feis in the Cave Continent's underground world. Most of the rare Feis were controlled by the aristocratic factions and wouldn't fall into the hands of people like Bei Shu, who were born to mine. The first one was even worse. End of chapter. Chapter 707. Lin Yuan could not bear to see Bei Shu, who was about to die. It was not that Lin Yuan was a good person because he had compassion. Instead, Lin Yuan had seen through Bei Shu's will that Bei Shu still had a warm soul that faced the light in such an environment. Apart from strength, Lin Yuan's private faction, Sky City, often valued character more. Bei Shu's character had undoubtedly met Lin Yuan's requirements. Since the Celestial Council had given Bei Shu the chance to be the main character and Lin Yuan the chance to be the system in that case, he planned to make good use of this opportunity. According to the plot in his previous life, even a pig could become a tyrant with the existence of the system. And Bei Shu was not a pig. Bei Shu had comprehended a willpower rune at the age of 22, which was considered pretty good in the Radiance Federation. In the Cave Continent's underground world, where even Feis were scarce, Lin Yuan was confident that he could easily nurture Bei Shu as the system. Lin Yuan said to Wen Yu, "Let's use the astral throne." Upon hearing that, Wen Yu knew that Lin Yuan wanted to treat Bei Shu, just like how he had casually saved her. The Celestial Council could conduct material exchange, and healing required the transmission of life energy, which was an energy exchange. As a price, Lin Yuan had to pay a portion of his willpower. This matter was of great importance, so Wen Yu reminded him again. "Young master, the exchange of energy requires willpower as the price." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan nodded. Upon seeing Lin Yuan's nod, Wen Yu did not say anything else and activated the Celestial Council's Star Spirit Chair. On the other hand, Lin Yuan released the Jasmine Lily's bud of Mountain Jade's vitality toward Bei Shu. Immediately afterward, the Leo constellation above Lin Yuan's head absorbed the vitality he released. After that, the main constellation of Leo moved to the top of Bei Shu's head and sprinkled the life energy released by the Jasmine Lily onto Bei Shu. During the conduction of the vitality energy, Lin Yuan chose to consume the willpower extracted from the dark spirit eye tadpole's flesh. As a result, he found that 1/6 of the willpower extracted from the Diamond 8 Fantasy 3 dark spirit eye tadpole was consumed. Such willpower consumption made Lin Yuan's heart ache. It could be said that the price of exchanging resources in the Celestial Council was extremely high. However, Lin Yuan was stunned. He was shocked to find that his willpower, which was the price of exchanging resources, was actually moving toward the cat's eye stone on Wenyu's forehead. This made Lin Yuan realize that the Celestial Council could also absorb the willpower and laws that other people needed to pay to interact with matter and energy to carry out the evolution. Lin Yuan had felt the pinch from the consumption of his willpower, but if he could use this method to increase the Celestial Council's star rank if he could use this method to increase Wenyu's sacred source lifeform star, after all, Lin Yuan's sacred source lifeform, the sacred sword-wielding queen, was an existence that used willpower and laws as a toy. It could easily extract willpower and laws from dead fantasy breed phase and myth breed phase law crystals. 2. Lin Yuan could to exchange with the resources. Shu could not other people's Shu to, but he could not to know, could. The transfer of life energy did not affect Bei Shu's will and soul, so Bei Shu, who was in the Celestial Council, did not feel the slightest difference. However, the change of the celestial bodies made Bei Shu and Yin Lin recover from their initial shock. At that moment, Bei Shu and Yin Lin heard a clear female voice. "Welcome to the Celestial Council." Bei Shu and Yin Lin followed the voice and saw Wenyu sitting on the throne of the Libra constellation. However, their eyes were immediately attracted by Lin Yuan, who was sitting on the throne of the Leo constellation. Lin Yuan had once again used the star spirit trading function to continue to inject vitality into Yin Lin's body in the real world. The Jasmine Lily's exclusive skill, Severed Growth, could allow destroyed things to grow again according to the potential genetic model. As long as Yin Lin's genetic model was not innately deficient in the eyes, the Jasmine Lily's exclusive skill could heal her. However, Lin Yuan could sense that Yin Lin's memories mainly came from her willpower. For as long as Yin Lin could remember, she had always been blind. Therefore, Lin Yuan could not be sure if the genetic model of Yin Lin's eyes was complete, so he had only injected a small portion of vitality. If the genetic model of Yin Lin's eyes was not deficient, she would at least be able to see light and roughly judge the shape and color of objects when she returned to the real world. If it was effective, Lin Yuan could help Yin Lin with comprehensive treatment the next time she entered the Celestial Council. In the process of consuming willpower, Lin Yuan wanted to release the willpower and laws engraved in the princess's dress. The majestic aura of willpower and laws deeply shocked Bei Shu, who had always been in the barren underground world, and Yin Lin, who had just been able to see the light again. At that moment, Lin Yuan heard Yin Lin and Bei Shu ask in unison, "What's going on here? Who are you?" Lin Yuan did not immediately answer Yin Lin and Bei Shu's question because he found that Wenyu, who was sitting on the throne of the Libra constellation, was already giving him a look with a pale face. The light of the cat's eye stone on her forehead had also become a little dim. Lin Yuan knew that this should be the reason why her spiritual energy was about to be exhausted. The Celestial Council also had a time limit, and Wenyu had spent too much time explaining the Celestial Council world to him. Lin Yuan remembered what Wenyu had told him before. He stood up with the huge Leo constellation above his head and said to Yin Lin and Bei Shu, "Before entering the Celestial Council, you all have dreams that you have to achieve even if you have to give up everything. If you go back on your word, just treat this meeting as a trip in the sky in your sleep. If you don't go back on your word, you will enter the Celestial Council again in your sleep at this time a week later. The next time you come to the Celestial Council, bring your conditions and fulfill the corresponding obligations. Of course, even if you go back on your word, I have already given you a small gift for this trip in your dream. I hope you like it." Before Bei Shu and Yin Lin could speak, Lin Yuan's voice had just faded. Bei Shu and Yin Lin disappeared from the Celestial Council. There was a layer of sweat on Wenyu's face as she spoke to Lin Yuan weakly. The second one, end of this chapter. Chapter 708. Young Master, given my current spiritual energy, half an hour is the limit for a celestial conference. Yin Lin and Bei Shu have received guidance from Andromeda and Hercules. Next time, as long as they are asleep, I can give priority guidance to them. But will young master and the others sleep obediently at this time a week later? Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan revealed a confident smile. They definitely will, and they will look forward to next week's arrival. A few gusts of biting cold wind caused Bei Shu, who was lying on top of the stone pillar, to open his eyes. Bei Shu opened his eyes and subconsciously sat up. After sitting up, Bei Shu suddenly realized that his back had been clawed by the cave shadow leopard. If he sat up rashly, his injuries would worsen. However, after getting up, Bei Shu realized that his back did not hurt at all. As long as there were no glowing ores in the underground world, it would always be in darkness. This caused Bei Shu to be unable to see his body clearly. However, after feeling around, Bei Shu realized that his injuries had completely recovered. The changes in his body made Bei Shu recall the man and woman sitting on the golden thrones in his dream, as well as the words that the godlike man had said to him under the vast starry sky. All of a sudden, Bei Shu clenched his fists tightly. His eyes flashed with excitement, surprise, and excitement. Bei Shu murmured softly, "Celestial Conference. Celestial Conference." Then, Bei Shu sorted out the memories in his dream and carefully climbed down the stone pillar. Bei Shu's recovered body floated along the rapid flow of the underground river, leaving only his head above the water surface. He prepared to find a suitable landing spot in the darkness and climb ashore. The cave world might be barren, but there were plenty of root plants and sandworms. Bei Shu decided to find some sandworms and plant roots to fill his stomach so that he could survive for the next few days. He quietly waited for the Celestial Conference to open a week later and was once again pulled to that mysterious and vast starry sky. At the same time, Bei Shu thought of his own conditions. Bei Shu wanted a fae that he could contract. Otherwise, he would not be able to take revenge for his father, mother, and big sister. It would be a problem to rely on himself to survive in the underground world. Yin Lin, who was sleeping lightly on the wheelchair, suddenly heard Cease's soft voice. "Miss, it's windy in the garden. If you're sleepy, you'd better sleep in the bedroom. Although it's still a little early, Miss can still read for an hour before tea if she wakes up now." Hearing Cease's voice, Yin Lin suddenly realized that the world in front of her was no longer pitch black. Instead, she could feel light. This sudden change reminded Yin Lin of the place called the Celestial Council that she had just been in. Yin Lin, who had always been calm, couldn't help but tremble slightly, but she still calmly said, "Cece, take me back to my room." After being sent back to the room by Cece, Yin Lin, who was lying on the bed, tremblingly stretched out her hand and untied the white ribbon covering her eyes. After opening her eyes, Yin Lin's eyes suddenly rolled down with big drops of tears. Although Yin Lin still couldn't see a clear world, Yin Lin's world now had light. He could see the outlines and colors of objects. This was an extravagant hope that Yin Lin didn't even dare to think about before. Yin Lin, who usually had the habit of taking afternoon naps, was not sleepy at all. Instead, she looked around curiously. When she recalled the words of the godlike man in the council, Yin Lin softly murmured, "Let me feel the light of the world. Is this the small gift you mentioned?" Yin Lin hurriedly shook the bell tied to the ribbon in front of the bed. The sound of the bell made the maid Cece, who was guarding outside, open the door and enter Yin Lin's room. When she walked to Yin Lin's side, she saw that Yin Lin had untied the ribbon tied to her eyes for some reason. Cece hurriedly asked worriedly, "Miss, are your eyes uncomfortable?" But when she met Yin Lin's eyes, Cece couldn't help but tremble. Her legs couldn't help but turn to jelly. Cece swore that she had never seen such a clear and beautiful pair of lake-like light green eyes in her life. Looking at Yin Lin, who had opened her eyes, two words suddenly appeared in Cece's mind. "Fairy." At that moment, Cece heard Yin Lin chuckle softly. Then, Cece felt Yin Lin's hand on the bow tie on her neck and asked curiously. "Cece, is this blue?" Cece subconsciously replied, "Yes, miss, this is blue." But after answering Yin Lin's question, Cece froze on the spot. Then Cece asked in surprise, "Miss, can your eyes feel light and see color?" When Yin Lin heard this, he smiled and said without answering the question, "Cece was right before. Blue is really the color of good mood." Yin Lin, who was extremely sensitive to emotions, found that Cece's breathing had become a little chaotic at this time. Then, Yin Lin heard Cece cry with joy. "Miss, It's great that you can see. Master and Madam will be so happy if they know. Yin Lin reached up along Cece's bow tie with her hand, and her fingertips directly touched Cece's warm tears. Yin Lin, who could feel light and see color, could only see Cece's outline. At this time, Yin Lin was far more eager to see the world clearly than before when she couldn't see anything. Yin Lin softly muttered the words Celestial Council in her heart. Then, Yin Lin thought about her conditions. Yin Lin wanted to be able to see the world clearly. She wanted to see Cece crying tears of joy, her father, mother, and grandfather butler. Feeling the light, Yin Lin thanked the man in the Celestial Council who said he would give her a small gift. In Yin Lin's heart, this small gift was the most precious gift she had ever received. After calming down for a while, Yin Lin gently caressed Cece's face and said, "Cece, remind me not to sleep at night 6 days later. Cece, remind me not to sleep at night 6 days later. On the 7th day, I want to sleep for the whole day starting from the morning. Alright, take me to see Daddy and Mommy now. I want to see what color Mommy's strawberry jam is." Lin Yuan, who had woken up from the training room chair, looked at the weak-looking Wen Yu who had just woken up. "In a while, let Big Brother Liu take off the fish coat of the supreme-grade angelfish of bliss and roast it for you. When your mental strength is too exhausted, you can eat some roasted fish coat to restore your mental strength." Upon hearing this, Wen Yu nodded and asked worriedly, "Young master, is it really okay for you to exhaust your willpower in the Celestial Council?" Lin Yuan shook his head. "This kind of consumption is nothing to me. On the contrary, if the Celestial Council absorbs the willpower and consumes the fish coat, which will increase more?" Upon hearing this, Wen Yu carefully calculated for a while before replying. "Young master, using the Star Spirit Throne to pay for willpower twice is more effective than using 40 fish coats." Wen Yu looked at Lin Yuan's expression and saw that it did not change. After confirming that paying willpower was indeed not a problem for Lin Yuan, he was relieved. Upon hearing Wen Yu's words, Lin Yuan felt that he should use the Star Spirit Throne to consume willpower and laws in the Celestial Council. He should quickly raise the Celestial Council's star rank for Wen Yu's sacred source life form. Third, more. Seeking monthly votes and recommendation votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 709. In fact, consuming willpower and laws in the Celestial Council would not only help when you increase the Celestial Council's star rank, but it would also be beneficial to Lin Yuan. When Lin Yuan let Princess absorb a large amount of willpower and laws, it was inevitable that she would absorb willpower and laws that were very similar. The world formed by the laws in Princess's dress was composed of objects that were the embodiment of laws and willpower. These very similar wills and laws could not fuse within the princess's skirt, so the objects that evolved from similar wills and laws would often clash with each other within the princess's skirt. Just like the handful of law crystal fragments he had obtained from Du and he had divided them into 5 piles, which came from 5 myth-breed fays. One of them, the gilded flame dragon lice, had comprehended the scorching law. When Lin Yuan had traded with Sun Ningxiang had given him the law crystal fragments in advance out of her trust in Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan had also absorbed the law crystal fragments that Sun Ningxiang had given to Princess and condensed many pure law crystals that were like broken diamonds. Among the law crystal fragments that Lin Yuan had traded with Sun Ningxiang, there was also a fire-type myth-breed roasted armored ladybug. This roasted armored ladybug comprehended the scorching law. The gilded flame dragon lice comprehended the scorching law and the roasted armored ladybug comprehended the scorching law. However, the scorching law focused on the temperature of flames, while the scorching law focused on the burning effect of flames. The two similar laws were almost different in terms of characteristics, which caused the evolution of the world to begin to affect each other. Among them, the scorching law from the gilded flame dragon lice was more complete than the roasted armored ladybug's scorching law. Therefore, Lin Yuan could leave only one of the similar laws in the princess's skirt that could not be fused and had a conflict in expression. This way, it would not affect the image that the laws in the world had evolved. Lin Yuan's consumption of the laws in the Celestial Council was equivalent to screening the laws that Princess's dress had inscribed without hesitation. It allowed the laws inscribed on Princess's dress to go through a process of extracting the essence and discarding the dregs. This process could ensure the quality of the laws inscribed on Princess's dress. Of course, this was the same for willpower. As he began to obtain a large number of law crystal fragments from Duan He and Sun Ningxiang, he began to look down on the willpower he obtained from fantasy breed phase. But now, it seemed that the sacred sword-wielding queen still needed to grasp both the rules and willpower. After all, as Wen Yu's mental strength improved in the future, more and more people from the Celestial Council would enter. The consumption of willpower was absolutely unavoidable. For example, although the Heavenly Maiden-grade elemental pearls were physical objects, they were essentially pure elemental energy polymers that were extremely concentrated. Under the resource exchange of the Celestial Council's Star Spirit Chair function, Lin Yuan had to contribute willpower and not rules. If Lin Yuan defined the Celestial Council's side as the system, then the people who had been introduced into the Celestial Council by the northern and southern constellations would be the protagonists. As the system, Lin Yuan wanted the protagonists to build sky castles on their respective continents. Every sky castle built by the protagonist was like a spark. When the spark burned to a certain extent, the sky castle would be like a star. It was possible for it to burn through the boundary and merge with another sky city. Finally, the map of the entire sky castle was connected. In order to complete this idea, as the system, Lin Yuan had to devote resources to the protagonists. Coincidentally, the most precious resource that Lin Yuan had was the Heavenly Maiden-grade elemental pearls. Therefore, Lin Yuan wanted to let the Sacred Sword Queen absorb more willpower in case of emergencies. In order to let the Sacred Sword Queen absorb the willpower, he had to find the dead fantasy breed phase body. Lin Yuan did not think that it would be difficult to find the dead fantasy breed phase body. Lin Yuan could not help but think, I can get the law crystal fragments in a myth breed phase body. The dead fantasy breed phase body should not be rarer than the law crystal fragments, right? Lin Yuan had cooperated with the Sun family's Dew Immortal Garden and the Blissful Sea clan. Even if the Blissful Sea clan had cheated Lin Yuan, they were still in a cooperative relationship. Lin Yuan felt that if he used the Sun family's Dew Immortal Garden and the Blissful Sea clan's power to help him collect the dead fantasy breed phase body, both sides should be willing. After all, Lin Yuan had taken out the resources of a Class 4 or even a Pinnacle Class 4 creation master. Since Lin Yuan intended to give the Blissful Sea tribe some shocking information, his cooperation with the Blissful Sea tribe would not last long. Therefore, he had to empty the Blissful Sea tribe's resources as soon as possible. Lin Yuan was very confident about this. Lin Yuan was sure that the Blissful Sea tribe would never be willing to reject his offer. After recovering her mental strength for a while, Wen Yu felt that her head was no longer as dizzy. Wen Yu stood up and spoke to Lin Yuan. Young master, I'm going to take over the Star Web Sky City's private faction territory. I'll deal with all the affairs in the territory. At night, I'll go back to the Hidden Moon Pavilion to sort out the information you asked me to. Lin Yuan nodded in response. Lin Yuan pondered for a moment before replying. You've already sorted out the information on the Miao family. You just need to pay attention to the Miao family's movements. Let's put aside the information about the Blissful Sea clan for now. Let's first investigate the Sun clan's Dew Immortal Garden. In particular, there's an important member of the Sun family whose muscles have suffered extremely serious injuries that require the Legend Muscle Revitalization Camellia to alleviate and heal. Since Wen Yu had stayed in the Hidden Moon Pavilion for more than a week, she did not know what had happened on Star Web and in the mansion. However, after hearing Lin Yuan mention the Sun family for the second time, Wen Yu knew that Lin Yuan should be rather anxious about the Sun family's information. Wen Yu had heard about the Sun family. When she had been a spirit attendant in the Radiant Moon Palace, Wen Yu had heard Jin Qi talk about the top factions. For half a year, Jin Qi had been talking about the Sun family almost every day, and her tone was rather sarcastic. It seemed that 3 Pinnacle Class 4 creation masters of the Sun family had betrayed them, and the 3 traitors had been killed by the Sun family. However, Wen Yu usually did not pay attention to gossip and did not know much about the Sun family. Young master, you don't need 3 days. I'll sort out the detailed information on the Sun family for you in 2 days. After saying that, Wen Yu returned to her room, logged into Star Web, and started to get busy. Lin Yuan left the training room and picked 10 of the best quality out of the remaining 160 supreme-grade angelfish of bliss coats for Liu Jie, who was processing the ingredients in the kitchen. The first one was even better. End of this chapter. Chapter 710. He asked Liu Jie to help her bake the 10 angelfish of bliss into crispy pancakes. It would be convenient for her to replenish her spiritual energy in the future. Then, Lin Yuan sat on the water rhinoceros leather sofa and called Qi Haitao, the young family head of the Bliss Sea clan. Lin Yuan and Qi Haitao had met in Star Web Sky City's private territory. Qi Haitao had invited Lin Yuan to meet in real life to discuss the future cooperation, but Lin Yuan had rejected it. However, under Qi Haitao's hospitality, Lin Yuan still exchanged phone numbers with him. The call only rang 3 times before Qi Haitao picked up. Lin Yuan heard Qi Haitao's enthusiastic voice. "I didn't have time to ask for your name when we were in Sky City's territory. How should I address you?" Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan chuckled and said, "That's right. There's no need to call me brother. A total of 100 enhanced angelfish of bliss over the past 3 days. I think Sky City has shown its sincerity to the Bliss Sea clan." However, Sky City didn't feel the slightest sincerity from the Bliss Sea clan. Are these mid to high-grade angelfish of bliss the reason why the Bliss Sea clan is so confident to call Sky City a brother? Upon hearing that, Qi Haitao's tone immediately changed. He became very serious and even a little angry. "What? I asked my men to bring you 100 adult angelfish of bliss. 80 of them are high-grade and 20 of them are top-grade. I didn't expect my men to bring the wrong ones." Then, Qi Haitao's tone immediately became gentle like a spring breeze. "Brother, I'll make it up to you during the next transaction. I'll ask my men to bring out 60 high-grade and 40 top-grade adult angelfish of bliss." "I'm sorry, brother. Haha, I personally picked out this fish robe for you. Do you like it? These fish clothes are our Bliss Sea clan's best." Lin Yuan's words were like a slap on the face of Qi Haitao, who was pretending to be a smiling person. Normally, even if Qi Haitao really cared about the cooperation with the Sky City, he wouldn't be so humble and submissive. It was because the Sea of Bliss tribe had just obtained 100 pregnant angelfish of bliss that had been upgraded from bronze flawless to bronze epic. He had asked his father, Qi Wangyang, who was the Blissful Sea clan's patriarch, to cut off the Blissful Sea clan's management of other aquatic fays. Instead, he focused on cultivating the angelfish of bliss. He had also sent people to the spirit guards to get the Miao family's beast creation garden to pay for the Blissful Ocean clan's business transformation with the Miao family's beast creation garden. It could be said that the Blissful Sea tribe was in desperate need of Sky City's creation master resources. Otherwise, what awaited the Blissful Ocean clan was the Miao family's beast creation garden. Qi Haitao couldn't help but sigh inwardly. He had been too short-sighted before. He actually decided to equip mature angelfish of bliss like the one in Sky City. When Lin Yuan heard Qi Haitao's words, he revealed a playful expression. His fingers lightly tapped on the soft leather surface of the water rhinoceros leather sofa. Qi Haitao was indeed worthy of being the Blissful Sea clan's young patriarch. His words were indeed interesting. Lin Yuan wasn't surprised by Qi Haitao's attitude toward him. After all, Sky City had shown the Blissful Sea tribe astonishing creation master resources. However, Qi Haitao's words seemed to be admitting his mistake, but he was subtly testing his bottom line. At the same time, Qi Haitao also revealed the Blissful Sea tribe's future trading chips. For every 100 mature angelfish of bliss, there would be 80 high quality and 20 supreme grade. Furthermore, he used the reason of his subordinate's mistake to completely push the blame for the previous transaction. It was evident that Qi Haitao's negotiation ability was extremely strong. However, Lin Yuan didn't intend to continue wrangling with Qi Haitao. He wanted Qi Haitao to constantly test his bottom line. Instead, he told Qi Haitao his bottom line very forcefully. Could it be that the Blissful Sea tribe's transactions with Sky City have always been so insincere? In the next transaction between Sky City and the Blissful Sea tribe, is the Blissful Sea tribe going to use the female angelfish of bliss that can no longer carry eggs to fool Sky City? Lin Yuan's words made Qi Haitao, who was on the other end of the phone, break out in a cold sweat. According to Chi Haitao's understanding, the delicate angelfish of bliss should be on the verge of death when they were transported to Sky City in a Fey storage box. Sky City should be looking for the blissful sea tribe to seek help and impart the angelfish of bliss's conservation knowledge. Chi Haitao had even thought of the conditions for imparting the conservation knowledge. However, he didn't expect Sky City to ignore the dying angelfish of bliss and examine its body instead. However, the angelfish of bliss was the blissful sea tribe's foundation, and Sky City had plenty of creation master resources. Even if the blissful sea tribe relied on Sky City, Chi Haitao must not allow the adult female angelfish of bliss to be traded to Sky City just in case. Just as Chi Haitao was in a dilemma, he heard a clear and domineering voice on the other end of the phone. In the next transaction, Sky City can pretend that it doesn't know about the blissful sea tribe's tricks. However, since the blissful ocean tribe has played a trick, from now on, for every 100 angelfish of blissful sold, we, Sky City, will need 50 premium angelfish of blissful and 50 premium angelfish of blissful. Lin Yuan's request was already beyond Chi Haitao's initial expectations. However, after being pinched by Lin Yuan and pointing out the blissful sea tribe's tricks, Chi Haitao felt relieved. When Chi Haitao heard Lin Yuan's request, which was already beyond his expectations, he felt relieved. Just as Chi Haitao was about to agree, Lin Yuan spoke again. Since the blissful sea tribe wants to show their sincerity and picked 200 rainbow fish coats this time, you have to maintain it next time. In addition, for every transaction in the future, I want the blissful sea tribe to provide Sky City with 10 complete dead fantasy breed phase. Lin Yuan's words made Chi Haitao's mouth gape. Chi Haitao couldn't help but curse in his heart. How can someone ask for such an exorbitant price? Chi Haitao felt that Lin Yuan was even greedier than a devil. After squeezing out the blissful sea tribe's angelfish of bliss to the limit, Lin Yuan still wanted the blissful sea tribe to provide 200 more rainbow fish coats. At the same time, he wanted 10 complete fantasy breed phase. Such a condition was equivalent to doubling the price that the blissful sea tribe had to pay in the transaction. The second condition was even worse. End of this chapter. Chapter 7:11. Even if the Sea of Bliss needed to rely on Sky City's creation master resources, the blissful sea tribe would never do something like this that would result in a loss. I'm sorry, the blissful ocean tribe can't agree to such a request. The blissful ocean tribe. Before Chi Haitao could finish speaking, Lin Yuan interrupted him. You're too impatient. Don't reject me so quickly. Sky City will not make the blissful sea tribe pay too much for nothing. Sky City can give the blissful sea tribe a promise. Sky City will provide a bronze legendary grade angelfish of bliss to the blissful sea tribe for every 3 transactions, which means that the quality of 300 pregnant angelfish of bliss will be enhanced. Lin Yuan's words immediately calmed Chi Haitao down. At the same time, he began to gasp in surprise. A bronze legend angelfish of bliss was something that the entire Sea of Bliss tribe yearned for. The blissful sea clan had only relied on a kind of medicine that was concocted from more than 200 kinds of spiritual materials. This potion could help the angelfish of bliss to hatch its eggs. The blissful sea tribe used this opportunity to monopolize the angelfish of blissful in the market. However, the Sea of Paradise's previous patriarch, who was also Chi Haitao's grandfather, a pinnacle class 4 creation master, had perished. The Paradise Sea race would no longer have top-notch creation master resources. However, the blissful sea clan also had their own foundation. In the process of cultivating the angelfish of blissful sea clan, the previous clan leader of the blissful sea clan had cultivated the angelfish of blissful for a few decades. He successfully cultivated 2 bronze legend angelfish of bliss. These 2 bronze legend angelfish of bliss were used by the blissful sea clan's current patriarch, Qi Wangyang, as a symbol of the clan's luck. They were kept in the blissful sea clan's old mansion in Calming Wave City. However, these 2 bronze legend angelfish of bliss were male and could not breed fish eggs. Sky City's promise to the blissful sea tribe was to upgrade the female fish to the legendary grade. This was a condition that the entire blissful sea tribe couldn't refuse. A bronze legend angelfish of bliss could produce thousands of fish eggs at a time. Even with the blissful sea tribe's special medicine, only 1% of the young fish could survive. The blissful sea tribe would also get dozens of top-grade breeding fishes. After a few years of development, the overall quality of the blissful ocean tribe's angelfish would improve significantly. In fact, the offspring of the female Bronze Legend angelfish of bliss might even break through the racial boundaries, evolving or mutating into brand new existences. At that time, even if the Bronze Legend female fish laid eggs, their quality would drop from Bronze Legend to Bronze Epic. Even so, it still had a legendary grade foundation. At that time, if he raised this female fish with the 2 Bronze Legend angelfish of bliss in the old mansion, it would still have the possibility of producing excellent offspring. If this deal went through, it would be the same as increasing the foundation of the blissful sea tribe. With this, the possibility of the blissful ocean tribe becoming a top-tier force in the next few years would be much higher. When Lin Yuan heard Chi Haitao's strange panting, he took the phone away from his ear. After more than 10 seconds, he continued to press the phone to his ear. This kind of man's panting was really too strange. Just as Lin Yuan stuck the phone to his ear, he heard Chi Haitao's urgent voice. "It's a deal." Lin Yuan didn't talk nonsense with Chi Haitao and hung up the phone after the deal was done. Lin Yuan might be using the Bronze Legend angelfish of bliss to trade with the blissful sea tribe. However, since the blissful sea tribe could do something to the angelfish of bliss, Lin Yuan could do the same. The delicate angelfish of bliss was very fragile during the gestation period, and it might die if it was stimulated slightly. Lin Yuan only needed to inject a large amount of pure spirit qi into the eggs in the belly of the Bronze Legend angelfish of bliss while enhancing the female Bronze Legend angelfish of bliss. Make the fish eggs strong, but not to the extent of mutation or evolution. At that time, the Bronze Legend angelfish of bliss during the gestation period would be like Neza. If the energy in the female fish's body wasn't enough to meet the needs of the enhanced eggs, it would never be able to let the eggs mature enough to be released from the body. This would cause the Bronze Legend angelfish of bliss to remain in the gestation period all year round. In this world, probably no faction would understand the delicate angelfish of bliss better than the blissful sea tribe. The eggs could not hatch into young fish after leaving the mother's body, and the mother fish would definitely die when its belly was cut open. At that time, the blissful sea tribe would have no choice but to watch the Bronze Legend angelfish of bliss pregnant with a group of Neza. Even if they could not give birth, they would have to take them out. The Bronze Legend angelfish of bliss that Lin Yuan had enhanced could only be used as a decoration in the blissful sea tribe. Lin Yuan didn't believe that the blissful sea tribe would give up on the pregnant Bronze Legend angelfish of bliss when facing the upcoming Aurora pollen crisis. The Bronze Legend angelfish of bliss would need to consume 100 times the Aurora pollen to provide energy for the eggs that could not be produced. This would increase the blissful sea tribe's burden on the Aurora pollen. In Lin Yuan's opinion, the pollen consumed by each angelfish of bliss was like a straw. No one knew how many straws could crush the blissful sea tribe. What Lin Yuan needed to do was to put a few more weighty straws on the blissful sea tribe during the cooperation period. After hanging up the call with Chi Haitao, Lin Yuan called Listen. He asked Listen to rely on the listening heron chamber of commerce's functions to help him bring back a muscle-rejuvenating camellia when he returned at night. After Lin Yuan had the listening heron chamber of commerce, it was much more convenient for him to need ordinary spiritual ingredients. When you had yet to find out who was injured in the Sun family's Dew Immortal Nursery and needed the legend muscle-rejuvenating camellia to heal the injury, Lin Yuan wasn't sure if he should trade the enhanced muscle-rejuvenating camellia to Sun Ningxiang in exchange for a complete law crystal inside a Myth 3 Fey. However, there was no harm in enhancing the muscle-rejuvenating camellia first. This kind of spirit material that could heal specific injuries was an extremely rare and precious resource. At specific times, they could even be exchanged for foundational resources, just like the transaction between Lin Yuan and the Sun family. After calling Listen, Lin Yuan was ready to return to his room to sleep. Even if Lin Yuan's body was made of iron, he couldn't hold on after working for 6 days straight. Lin Yuan planned to sleep for a few hours and enter the spirit lock spatial zone after dinner to start a new round of working. However, before he could finish eating, Lin Yuan was woken up by Liu Jie with a grim expression. Chapter 3 Sad smiley end of this chapter.